Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Tony Livesey.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Hello, bonjour, good morning. Welcome to day 8 of the Olympics. There are 29 gold medals up for grabs today. Max Whitlock will have his eyes on one of them. He goes for his third Olympic gold in the men's pommel horse.
Wait for it. Comes in. Yeah! Gold for Whitlock on the pommel horse.
It's the final day of rowing today as Team GB look to increase their already impressive medal tally. Chris Jones will take us through that.
Yeah, final day, Tony, of this epic week of competition. The single sculls finals coming up shortly, but when it comes to GB interest, 6 medals in the bag already. There maybe should be 2 more on the way this morning. 9:50 for the women's 8. GB favourites in the men's 8 at 10:10. More drama, no doubt, on the way over the next hour or so.
Yep, you won't miss a moment here on 5 Live. In the dressage, gold will be decided over the next few hours. And the athletics continues with the men's 100 metres heats this morning, with the women's final to come later.
And it's Thompson-Herah from Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, and Shericka Jackson comes through to make it a Jamaican 1-2-3. Elaine Thompson-Herah crosses the line here. It's a new Olympic record.
We'll bring you every Team GB medal live. You know that promise. We've kept it so far here on 5 Live. You can follow everything on the BBC Sport website and watch the best of the action on BBC One and the iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Tony Livesey.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
What a morning we've got in store for you then today. It is day 8, day 3 of the athletics. I'm actually at the Stade de France, more of that in a second. So 29 gold medals to be won today. So Max Whitlock goes in the men's pommel. We've got Tom Pidcock going for gold in the men's road race. He won gold in the mountain biking, you may remember, earlier this week. We'll be with Sonia at the dressage a little bit later on. Over the next few hours we'll have medal hopes in the rowing. The men are favourite in the 8s, as you heard Chris say there, and heats in the pool and here on the track as well. Let's say hello to my athletic compadres, Kath Merry and Ali Kirbishley. Ladies, hello to you. Good morning. Bonjour.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Bonjour, bonjour.
Are we all as pleased as me that the house music stopped? It was pretty...
Oh, come on. I thought it was quite good.
Well, I thought it was drum and bass till someone corrected me. I had no idea. This is my first time in a major athletics venue. Absolutely loving it. I'm channeling my dear old dad, who's no longer with us. He watched athletics all his life. He'd have done anything to be here. First of all, an athletics morning session. Kath, this is not a bad atmosphere. It's 2/3 full, 3/4 full, would you say?
Yeah, it's about 2/3 full this morning. That's a good shout. 80,000 capacity, of course. Yesterday morning we had 80,000, but that was what the Kevin Mayer effect would have been yesterday morning, because it was the start of the decathlon. He was a big French hope, and obviously had to pull out 24 hours before the competition started, which many French fans might not have known. So we're a little bit down on the numbers, but when you look at the size of the stadium, Tony, you know, we've got a good 60, 65,000 here at least, celebrating and getting into our second morning session.
Yeah, they've been making some noise. I've been enjoying all the build-up to all this. I've been here for an hour or two, and I've been watching everyone. They've been leaf blowing the finishing line, which is great. And also, the pole vaulters. The pole vaulters have done the 100 metres with their poles to warm up, which I also found fascinating. Alison Kirbishley, the noise in front of us now, there's a 100 metres heat going on, a prelim, I'm told, Ali. Shall we talk about last night? And the women's 800 metres. How did that pan out with Keely Hodgkinson? Let's talk first of all. She controlled her heat, didn't she?
Yeah, she was the third of the British athletes that we saw at Heat 1. We saw Gemma Reekie take control and win the heat in 2 minutes, and then we got to see this young 17-year-old Phoebe Gill in Heat 3. I mean, what were you doing at 17? You know, I mean, coming to your first not even just her first Olympics, her first British senior vest, and holding her own and qualifying in third place. And then we saw the favourite. I mean, head and shoulders above the rest, Keely Hodgkinson. She looked supreme. She just had to do her job, you know, just qualify comfortably, which is what she did. So, it's a very different Olympic experience for her this time round, because in Tokyo, no one really knew what she could do, and then she came away with a surprise silver, and so coming here, it's been very much the favourite tag, and it's how she's coping with that. But she really looks like she's enjoying it.
Yeah, well, actually, let's have a listen to her. So this is Keely Hodgkinson speaking last night after that performance in the heats, talking to Sarah Mulkerrins.
Keely, you controlled that race really well, and I saw you look up to the screen with 100 to go. Was that just sussing out where you were in the field and all that?
Yeah, of course, just got to manage where everyone else is in. Also, these heats on papers, and they're actually really tough, so the girls have really stepped up this year, so yeah, I'm just happy to get through safely, no problems, and onto the semis.
How good does it feel to actually be racing now after all the build-up to it?
Yeah, no, really good. I really hate heats. They're just awful. I feel like they're where you can really get caught out sometimes and mistakes can be made, so I'm glad that today's over with and focus on the semis now.
And how does that track feel as well? Does it feel good, fast?
Super fast. I was warming up on out there and I'm like struggling to, yeah, whatever they've done, they've done a great job.
Great stuff. We'll see you in the semi-finals.
Thank you very much.
Keely Hodgkinson there speaking to Sarah Mulkerrins. I've spent the last minute and a half thinking, what was I doing when I was 17? I was actually smoking roll-ups and listening to The Clash on the college jukebox, so I wasn't here. I'm not going to ask you two. I don't want to. I don't know. Can we go there? What were you two doing when you were 17?
I mean, I certainly was in athletics, but there was she was a child prodigy, so Kath probably would have been.
Yeah, I started internationally at 13 for Great Britain. Like 17, I was a near veteran running around the world. I just finished school and gone full time as an athlete, but I either or. Tony, do you know what I mean? Don't do yourself out. Look at you now. You're in the Stade de France, living the dream, my friend.
Yeah, it's only taken me 43 years. Come on. Do you think they'd let me have a go over those hurdles later on?
They do have a media race, but I'm just not sure when it is.
I wouldn't even win the mascot race, never mind the media race. We're talking about Phoebe Gill, who was running yesterday at the age of 17. Let's have a listen to her, speaking also to Sarah Mulkerrins last night.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. I didn't expect it to be that hard to get through. I mean, that heat was definitely one of the quickest heats that I've ever done. But I guess I should have expected it. I'm so happy that I got through though. There was a point on the turn where I didn't know if I was going to be able to get third, but thankfully I had it in the legs. So.
How was the stomach? How were the butterflies, the nerves?
I don't even want to get started on it. I mean, ask my roommates. I was just in my room trying not to hyperventilate, just watching Gilmore Girls to try and take my mind off of it. But I got ready like 5 hours before I got here because I needed something to put my mind on. So,
well, at least you know what to do now for that semi-final. Yeah. You know, how are you feeling in your body?
I'm feeling good. I'm definitely tired right now, obviously, but I think it was good to get things started and to really get a feel of, you know, we're at the Olympic Games, it's serious stuff. I'm not at British champs anymore, so I think this is a good way to remind myself how fast these girls really are.
Well, you're right up there, Phoebe. Well done today.
Thank you so much.
Phoebe Gill, they're brilliant to hear that excitement. One of her roommates said, went on social media, I'm one of her roommates, Phoebe's roommates. I have to say she handled today like an absolute pro, incredible young lady. I love Ali when we see these top-level athletes be human beings. Love it to hear that vulnerability there.
Yeah, and do you know what? I spoke to Dina Asher-Smith a couple of weeks ago, just before the London Diamond League, and she talked about the danger of the youth, because they're fearless, and you heard it there. You know, she's talking up about the fact that, you know, I didn't realise how quick they'd be. She's 9th quickest in the world this year, this young lady. So she's absolutely, you know, she's by right at this table, and she's holding her own. But it is just wonderful, and I've been really pleased to see who's been kind of put into her flat, her roommates, because they definitely need to go with some of the older elder statesmen or women of the team, and Lavia Nielsen and Lena Nielsen, the twins, one in the 4 hurdles, one in the 400 metres. You know, they've been here, they've done it, and I think, you know, they're all absolutely putting an arm around her, and as will Keely and Gemma. I mean, she's going to get no better experience than watching somebody like Keely Hodgkinson, how she approaches it when she's favourite, because honestly, 4 years, LA, that girl is a star.
Talking of elder statesmen, actually, we're going to speak to Britain's 50-year-old skateboarder in a few moments' time, so I'm looking forward to that. Kath, she was watching Gilmore Girls. Just give us an up-sum on Gilmore Girls.
I've been thrown under a French bus here, haven't I? I thought she said Golden Girls.
Yeah,
so
I did as well.
I'm showing my age, Livesey.
Yeah. Golden Girls.
She watching Blanche.
Yeah, Golden Girls, great series, wasn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, the thought of Phoebe Gill sitting watching the Golden Girls back in the Olympic Village.
Well, that's why she needs people like us around her with a bit more experience, saying you need to be looking at this.
There you go. And she has got Kelly Holmes in her camp as well now, in terms of giving us some advice.
She is a Golden Girl.
And she is obviously the Golden Girl of British middle distance running. So So good people around her, Phoebe, and it's exciting times.
So look, that was last night. They march on into the next round. What about today? What can we look forward to in front of us today? Ali, do you want to take us through the start?
It's just speed. It's all about speed. We've got the prelim rounds. We're just watching the sprint hurdles, the second day, first event for the decathletes, and then once the hurdles are cleared off the track, we'll see the prelims of the 100 metres. So they're the guys that we've only got a few heats of those, so they're the guys that are real outsiders in the 100 metres, and they've got a chance to try and get in the round one. But when round one kicks off, we're going to see the quickest men in the world. So Noah Lyles, and then obviously our trio of Brits, Arnell Hughes, Jeremiah Azu, and then obviously this new young find, Louis Hinchliffe, who's coached by a certain Carl Lewis, who I think was pretty good at Olympic Games.
Yeah, he was. He was in the opening ceremony just clinging onto that boat as well. I'm glad he's still here.
That was brilliant.
He was, to be fair. I thought if anyone's going to go over, it's the 9-time Olympic medalist Carl.
Then you would have seen Serena Williams have to dive in afterwards to save him.
Now we're talking for an opening ceremony, all right?
Listen, so that athletics will be taking place in front of us. We will focus on some of the events, as we said, the 100 metres first round. Just want to talk rowing briefly, because we could be getting one gold today potentially while we're on air, maybe two. Team GB are trying to take their rowing medal tally to 8 over at Vers-Saman, which is the nautical stadium. It's the final day of the rowing. 2 chances at gold. Chris Jones is watching as ever alongside Olympic silver medalist Jess Eddy. Chris, these are serious tilts at medals today for us this morning.
Yeah, for sure. I think the men's 8 definitely, they've been in great form for the last couple of years. They're world champions back-to-back, 22 and 2023, have won a load of gold medals at various rowing World Cups. So that men's 8, which is the final race of this captivating regatta, Tony, that's at 10:10. Before that, the women's 8, I don't know, Jess Eddy alongside me, you think silver, bronze, the Romanians are strong, but 6 medals for GB so far, could be up to 8 in just over an hour's time.
The women's 8 look really strong at this regatta. They won their heat, they have been there or thereabouts during the season. I think this could be their moment to be on the podium, but a very strong Romanian women's 8 contest against.
Yeah, 9:50 for the women, Tony, 10:10 for the men to finish it all off.
Can we make an honorary mention of Henry Fieldman? This is an incredible story which could play out today. Chris, Jess, who wants to take us through this? So he's coxing the women.
Yep, so this is the first time ever, well actually Tokyo was the first time ever there's parity in the rowing. There was always 2 more male boats than there were female boats, and what that has brought along with it as well is parity in allowing the coxswains, so the people that steer the boats, to be either male or female. It always used to be they had to be the gender of the actual boat class. So now Henry coxed the men's 8 to a bronze in Tokyo 3 years ago, and he's made the switch over, and he's going to be the first ever GB male cox in this Olympic boat class. So he could be winning a medal in both boat classes.
And if he does that, he'll be the first person to win an Olympic medal in both the men's and women's event, which is quite an extraordinary record. So let's just have a quick chat about the women then. What are their realistic chances, Jess? What has to happen today for them to get gold? Who are their main rivals?
So the main rivals, the ones that to look out for, are the Romanians. They're the world champions. They have looked very good, but something to say about them, they're doing something that's quite unusual in rowing. They're doubling up, so their entire boat class have been racing all through the week in their women's double scull, their women's pair and their women's 4. Are they going to be a bit tired from those races?
Hope so.
Yeah, let's think as well. Beyond that, we have the Americans, who smashed me at 3 Olympic Games. They're 3-time Olympic champions, but disappointing Olympiad for them. They've come through the repechage and won that, so they'll be there. And the Canadians, the Olympic champions, so some tough competition.
Really unusual, isn't it, what the Romanians are doing? And we have had a chat, Tony, Jess and I, whether, is that something going forward that you say to rowing crews, actually you can only take a certain number of competitors to the games. They've all got to do different boat classes because everyone else just sticks to their one category. But Romania have been switching around, and whether it pays off today in the women's 8, we shall see. But yeah, it should be 2 brilliant races, and I think 2 very close finishes yet again.
Yeah, and the men, as we've said, favourites really, and I love that quote from James Rudkin, who says we're one engine, one machine. I like the sound of that. Chris, on the men then, we don't want to jinx it, but we asked what has to happen for the women to get anywhere near the gold. What has to go wrong for the men? Who are their closest rivals?
Well, look, they're certainly in gold medal contention when you look at what they've done over the last couple of years, but they have been pushed hard this season by the USA. And what has been so fascinating, Tony, about the last 7 days of competition is that you can talk all you like about who's world champion from last year, who's the European champion, who won all those golds at the Rowing World Cups that they have in the months preceding these Olympic Games. But it's those 2,000 metres that matter. And look at the men's pair yesterday. The Croatians haven't really done much this Olympic cycle, but they're such legends of the sport. They're so experienced. They can rock up and get it done when it matters the most. So yes, the men's 8, you would back them for gold, but beware of what the USA in lane 3 are going to come up with. So yeah, the blue ribband events, the 8s to finish off this regatta. 6 medals for Team GB, as we touched on earlier. That's 3 times what they won in Tokyo. But really, if they can turn those 6 into 8 and maybe another gold to go with the women's quad and the women's lightweight double, that would represent a very strong rowing games all round for Team GB.
Yeah, and Jess, on that, just on the overall performance, assuming that maybe 2 medals find their way to the team today, is that rowing cycling moment? I mean, how big a step forward is that from Tokyo?
It's huge. I can't understate the underperformance of Tokyo. We got 1 silver in the men's quad and a bronze in the men's 8. It was a disastrous Olympics for rowing. Let's not beat around the bush. This is one of our strongest ever performances, even so far. So if we can grab a couple more in the middle of the podium, would be insanely good.
Yeah, and you've got to remember that the women's 4 could have been gold. That was a matter of inches in it, Helen Glover's team. And then the men's pair yesterday did everything right for 1,950 metres. So yes, it's been 2 golds, 2 silvers, 2 bronzes. It could have been 4 golds. So let's see if the men's 8 and the women's 8 can just win a tight one today to add to that medal tally.
Yeah, we'll give everyone the times in just a second when they go, so people can make sure they're listening. But just a quick follow-up, Jess, on that Tokyo debacle. What went wrong particularly?
I think they had a really hard run in. There was quite a lot of COVID restrictions on the team. They literally couldn't train together compared to some of the other nations. And on top of that, we had a lot of 4th place finishers. So that's pretty good for some people. It's not good for the British rowing team. So we had a lot of 4th places. We will mention a lot of the names that have carried on for this Olympiad. We saw that yesterday with the lightweight women's double. They came 4th, gold yesterday. So big learning lessons, huge curve, and I think some of that is coming across in the medals we're going to see, and we have seen this week.
And a couple of changes behind the scenes, Tony, as well. New performance director. They had a long-standing performance director, 20 years plus. He left in 2018. New performance director came in, didn't quite manage to replace David Tanner, and then they appointed Louise Kingsley, who's done a really solid job. And just behind the scenes, they made a few alterations, got that nice synergy right with youth and experience and the coaching and the performance director, and they seem in a really good place now, and they'll really look to finish it off strongly today.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it personally. I've been bemoaning my medal drought on the station this week. I thought I got to day 8 without a medal, so much so listeners were demanding I was removed from the coverage.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Well, as a Jonah, I think it's because I'm a Jonah. Maybe they just want me removed. I've been reminded that my first day at the pool last Saturday, we did win a bronze, so in the diving. So I've missed that, but maybe, just maybe, I'll get my first goal today. So, Chris, what are the crucial timings for people listening?
9:50, so what's that? Exactly half an hour till the women's 8, and 10 past 10 for the men's 8, which should have been the end of this regatta, saving the 8's finals till last. But the men's single sculls, which has no GB interest, but it's going to be some showdown with the likes of Van Dorp from the Netherlands and the mighty German Oliver Zeigler as well going for gold. That's been delayed. I think people have been late on a bus arriving to the lake. So actually the whole regatta is going to end at 10:30 our time with the men's single sculls. But in terms of GB interest, 9:50 for the women's 8 and 10 past 10 for the men's 8.
Great stuff, Chris. Jess, back with you shortly. Set your clocks for that, then. That's going to be exciting this morning. We've also got action in the hockey. GB's women are playing Argentina. It's the final pool game. Sarah Orchard is there for us. Sarah, thankfully, after that win against the USA, this doesn't quite matter as much as it might have done.
Yeah, as relaxed as a hockey match can be. Great Britain's men and women already through to the quarterfinals by the time they play their final matches. So today is the last day of the entire pool stage of the women's hockey. We had the end of the men's last night. That information, if you haven't already got it, Great Britain's men are going to be playing India in the quarterfinals. That one's at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. This is the final pool match for the women. They're taking on Argentina. We've had the first quarter. It's 0-0. I have to say, pretty cagey between these two two sides. Really interesting how GB actually approached this. The women, they haven't had, I'd say, the most confident of hockey tournaments, but they have got better as the competition has progressed. But at the moment, it's Great Britain 0, Argentina 0, and we've got 14 minutes of the second quarter to go.
And I read that Argentina are unbeaten, Sarah, so if nothing else, it will give GB a kind of a marker for for what they need to achieve, where they are in this competition. Yeah,
exactly that. Argentina's women currently ranked second in the world. This is the toughest task that Great Britain's women have been given so far in this competition. They did have a bit of a thumping by Australia 4-0 in their second outing, but they have grown in the tournament. Wins over South Africa and the USA should give them confidence in their last two matches. This is a big task, and this is the chance really to see if they can mix with the big girls who are out here in this hockey tournament. And they've got a very big fan. I don't know if you've seen it on the TV pictures this morning. Andy Murray has come out. He's in the crowd this morning. He's got a big GB flag with him. We think he's got one of his daughters with him as well. So hopefully, maybe wanting to spur the women on.
Yeah, and we've talked about him quite a bit during the Olympics, away from the tennis court, Sarah, as a genuine Olympic nut. And he's proving that. And also, I hear from those within the camp, hugely supportive of the other athletes as well, which is great to see.
Yeah, and that is, Andy Murray for so long. He's not just been a wonderful advocate for sport, in particular tennis, but obviously women's sport as well. Everyone knows the viral clips that go around when he's corrected journalists when they've got their history and records of sport and not included the women in that. He loves his sport. He doesn't care what the gender is. It's no surprise at all that he's here supporting the hockey players today. And his children are big sports fans as well. We know increasingly his eldest daughter, Sophia, she has absolutely loved in recent years starting to watch him on the tennis court as she's realised what Daddy does for a living, or did do for a living. Oh my goodness, we've got to get used to saying that, haven't we? But an absolute sports nut, and I'm sure we're going to see him popping up in quite a few places.
Cheers, Sarah. Back and forth to you this morning. Now, dressage team goals going to be decided over the next few hours. Team GB qualified in third for the final, watching as ever at the Palace of Versailles is Sonia McLaughlin. Sonia, morning to you.
Good morning, Tony. How are you?
I'm good. I'm Sonia. I'm coming to see you tomorrow. I shall be alongside
you. Are you definitely coming?
I'm definitely coming. It's a date.
You are. We are going to have so much fun. You're going to learn all sorts. Yeah, because you.
We are, of course. That wasn't a question mark. We are.
Well, tomorrow is the freestyle. Tomorrow is when we see the dancing horses to music, and I know you're a big music fan, so there's going to be.
Do they do drum and bass there? What do
yes,
they do?
Maybe.
Prodigy.
Yeah, maybe. There was a Charlotte Fry. I saw her gold medal winning test at the World Championships, and she had the Beatles in there. She had Queen. There was a bit of Take That. It's a lot of fun, but today we have the slightly more genteel Grand Prix special, which decides the team medals, and we have 10 teams, 3 riders each team. Going for Britain, we have Becky Moody, Carl Hester and Charlotte Fry, and basically they each go in, perform a dressage test, and the team that has the maximum score wins gold. And Britain very much in the medal hunt here. They were bronze medalists in Tokyo. They are expected to win a bronze medal again. If they could perform at their very, very best, there is a sniff of a silver. But the Germans are the runaway favourites here. Their horses would frankly have to gallop off out of this arena and head towards the cross-country course for it to go wrong for the Germans. Very unlikely. They are the world powerhouses of elite dressage. So we're thinking the medals will be Germany, Denmark, Britain, but it's horses. You never know.
You never know, and that's right. And I feel as though I've got an attachment to Becky Moody and Jägerbomb, because every time I talk to you, they're in action, and she's up first, isn't she? Yeah,
she's the 8th to go in this arena, and we currently have the 3rd horse. So she's a little while yet, but she is going to be. They call it the pathfinder, first rider in for this British team, and obviously she wasn't supposed to be here competing. Tony, she was the alternate rider, so she was here in the sense that if anything went wrong, she would be stepping in. Now, obviously, we know what happened to Charlotte Dujardin, and so now Becky Moody is going to compete and has been competing, because she was obviously took part in qualifying. She's competing at her very first Olympics on Jägerbomb. Yes, this horse that she bred herself. She's had it since it was a foal. And she gave Jägerbomb a name simply because she says at the time she was partial to said drink. And her grandfather, Norman, she says, was a bit of a bomb. And so it was the perfect name for her new foal, who is now going to come into this arena to take part in an Olympic final. Quite remarkable.
Professional whispering. Is there a horse nearby?
Yeah, well, the thing is, yesterday, because Chris Warburton just played me this on breakfast, my commentary of the show.
You've gone viral, Sonia. You're viral.
It was exciting, what can I say? So yesterday I literally was on my feet, and as Scott Brash and Hello Jefferson head over the last fence, I was probably at peak commentary. Not going to lie, I was on my feet. This is slightly more genteel, and I have to say these dressage horses can be a little bit unpredictable. There was a horse, Charlotte Fry was saying, her horse, Glamourdale, who came in to mark a C, was supposed to do a rein-back, spooked at his own shadow and did a terrible movement. So you have to give these horses a little bit of respect, which also means, as a commentator, not kind of... It's a bit like being on a golf course. When someone's lining up a putt, you're not going to be being too loud.
It's all very useful for me. I'm making notes for tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, as I say, Tony, will be slightly different because tomorrow is when imagine Strictly, right?
Yeah.
And the dancers are allowed to do their show dance where anything goes.
Yes.
And the freestyle tomorrow, which decides the individual medals, is the dressage equivalent of the show dance in Strictly. And so anything goes, and there'll be lots of music. It'll be fun. The crowd will start clapping. So it'll be a little bit more where you can just get involved and not have to whisper like. Yes.
I'm imagining kind of a bolero moment, but on horses.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay, well look.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And when you come back to me, what I would like to do is at some point today just explain to you the outline of a dressage arena, because it's quite interesting.
Right. Well, I've got to go to the news. Shall we do that the next time I speak to you?
Yeah, shall we do that? Because I think it would be nice for people to understand what these horses are doing, because it's such a precise test that they have to perform, and they have to hit their markers precisely.
Yeah.
And I think it's so difficult, Tony. You know what? There are 36 different movements here, and they come at you thick and fast, and you've got to know what you're doing. And so I think it's pretty fascinating to explain what's going on.
Okay, well, make that a date, then I'll be back with you as soon as possible. See you later.
Bye.
Sonia McGocken over at the Palace of Versailles. Just a very quick word with Kath Mary and Ali Kirbyshire alongside me. The Stade de France Athletics, day 3 of the Athletics. The listeners will occasionally hear bits of cheers and that kind of thing. Kath, what's taking place in front of us now, just so they know?
Yeah, the men's decathlon's continuing. Gletti Mackerson is their big favourite in that, hence a lot of roaring earlier when he did the high hurdles, and he ran pretty well as well. Leo Neuenberger of Germany, by the way, was the leader in that event overnight. And they also have French participation in the men's pole vault qualifying, Livesey, and the world record holder Mondo Duplantis, the greatest ever, 6 metres and 24, is obviously been introduced to the crowd a few moments ago. He was blowing kisses, bisou, bisou, and that obviously made everybody go wild, as it does in track and field, as you're finding out this morning, your first time with us.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. And 10:45-ish, the men's 100 metres first round begins, so there's Brits in action there as well, so we're looking forward to that. You won't miss a thing. Don't forget those rowing medals at stake, not too long away. We're looking forward to that too. And in the meantime, let's get the 5 Live News. Here's Beth Ann Holmes.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Home Secretary has condemned violence in Sunderland last night. 8 people have been arrested. Yvette Cooper says those involved in the trouble in which 3 police officers were injured would pay the price. It's the latest unrest which is being linked to the knife attack in Southport on Monday, which killed 3 young girls. The US government has revoked a plea deal agreed earlier this week with the man accused of masterminding 9/11. The original deal could have spared the alleged from the death penalty. Relatives of the victims have welcomed the news. It's been reported a local leader of Hamas's military wing has been killed in an Israeli airstrike in the occupied West Bank. It comes as the US says it's stepping up its military presence in the Middle East, deploying additional warships and fighter jets as regional tension grows, which follows the killings of Hamas's political leader and a Hezbollah commander in the past week. And it's emerged the former chair of the BBC publicly thanked disgraced newsreader Hugh Edwards for his contribution to the corporation during a Welsh language programme, despite despite knowing he'd been arrested last November. Dame Ellen Kloss-Stevens says at the time she wasn't aware of the details which have come to light this week.
Welcome to the Tooney and Russo show in Ibiza!
I'm here with two of football's most famous friends, Alessia Russo and Ella Toon.
What do you mean I can't go on? This is what this holiday's been booked for. It's all about the big inflatable. You're telling me I can't go on? You're crushing my dream. I'm delirious. I had a big night last night.
It's nice to come out and have a bit of a holiday, isn't it?
From BBC 5 Live, the Tooney and Russo show with me, Vic Hope.
Watch on YouTube and listen on BBC Sounds.
Paris 2024, the Olympic Games.
With Tony Livesey.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good morning, welcome back to the Stade de France. I'm really pleased to say now we're joined by someone who's got a great backstory here coming up to the Olympics. Andy McDonald joins us now, who's representing Team GB in the park skateboarding early next week. Andy, good morning to you. Bonjour.
Bonjour, thanks for having me.
What a story you bring to these games. All began 2 years ago when you thought, I know, I'm going to represent Team GB. How does it feel to finally be here?
It's pretty surreal. I'm pinching myself every day. I got to skate the course yesterday, and I was just like, here, take my picture. Give him my camera. People like, take my picture again. Take my picture in front of the Olympic rings. Just like trying to just suck it up and enjoy being here.
Yeah, you didn't just take a picture of the Olympic rings, you stood on the top of them juggling. But
yes,
that's probably another story. Listen, would you talk about your connection to GB then? It's all about your dad, Roderick, isn't it? Just tell us about your dad.
Yeah, so my dad's from Luton, just north of London. That's where my grandma's from, and then my granddad's from Dumfries, Scotland. So, got this crazy idea to represent England about 2.5 years ago. Called my dad and was like, hey, I need your birth certificate because I got to get my British passport. And he was like, why do you want to do that?
He was surprised by it all, wasn't he? Yeah. So what does he make of the fact you're here?
Oh, he loves it. He's super excited for me. He's the one that used to take me to the skate park and film me with the VHS video camera, and nobody, including my dad, ever thought that I'd be here.
To the casual listener, Andy, I must point out you're an absolute skateboarding legend. You're no tourist. But do I win a prize for being the interviewer who's taken 4 questions to mention your age?
I think that usually that's the lead question.
Yeah, it is relevant. You're 51. Were you 51 on Wednesday last week?
I turned 51 when I took the train from London to Paris with the rest of Team GB. So it was fun because July 31st also happens to be Harry Potter's birthday, and we left from King's Cross. So platform 9 3/4.
Serendipitous. Well, your teammates are 16, Andy, and that's the interesting dynamic here. How does it feel to be the elder statesman with the team?
It feels normal. I mean, everyone's just like, oh, you're this 50-year-old at the skate park. Isn't that weird? I'm like, no, because I was at the skate park before they showed up. Like when they showed up as little kids, I was already there. I was the one probably like teaching them where to put their feet or like teaching them how to drop in for the first time. And flash forward 7 or 8 years, and they're better than I am.
Yeah, well,
that remains to be seen. Yeah.
Yes,
but I mean, it's not weird because I've been here. Like I've been doing it. It's not like I ever like this is like some comeback or something. I've been doing it. I never stopped.
Yeah, and we won't go too far into your past, but you've won loads of gold medals alongside Tony Hawk as well. So as I said, a skateboarding legend. How does it work when you're 51? Then are you constantly having to learn the new moves that the kids are coming up with, or are you designing your own? How does that work?
Well, it's neat because I can participate in this history. Skateboarding's old enough now that it's got a history, right? But it's an oral history. It's not like you can pick up a book and be like, oh, this is the person that did this trick or whatever. So I'm skating with my teenage teammates, and they'll be trying a trick, and chances are like I was there when that trick was invented, or I know who invented it, or I know how it got its name, or I invented that trick myself. And it's cool to like kind of pass on those lessons of skateboarding.
And this is a very naive question from someone who's not a skateboarder, but presumably the youngsters know exactly your background. Are they coming up asking for tips, asking about the past? Tell us some stories, Andy. Is that what they're saying all the time?
Yeah, I get a lot of Uncle Andy tell me the stories of how it used to be, and I get to tell him how I used to skateboard uphill to school both ways with hot potatoes in my hands and barefoot and all that.
Yeah. And so what about the chances next week, Andy? You're not here just to take part, I guess. You're in it to win it. So have you had a look at the course? Have you been around the Parker Band?
Yeah, we had our first training day yesterday, and it's not my favorite course, but it's the Olympic course, and I'm just super psyched to be here and be part of the Olympics. And hopefully can get a run together that's going to be competitive with these guys that are way younger than me, and represent for us old guys that skateboarding knows no bounds. Age is just a number.
Exactly that. But let's assume most of our listeners are not skateboarders. So what on the course itself, what are you expected to do?
Oh man, I'm expected to have the most fun. If they gave a medal for whoever has the most fun, I'd be getting a gold for sure.
And Andy, just final question, I'll let you go. Where does this rank? We've established your credentials. Representing Team GB at the Olympics in Paris, right up there?
Oh, it's probably top of the list. It's just surreal that I'm even here. It's so great to be part of Team GB, and thanks to the National Lottery for making it all possible, paying my way for getting to all the qualifiers, and it was just such a Hail Mary to be here, and it's a feather in my cap toward the end of my career to take part, and I'm just enjoying it while I can.
It's a brilliant story. Andy, we'll watch you with interest. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Andy McDonald there, representing Team GB in the park skateboarding early next week. Right, I'll clear my throat because it's half-time in the hockey. We can go to Sarah Orchard.
Yeah, thanks ever so much. I quite want to be Andy when I grow up. It sounds absolutely brilliant. Right then, in the hockey, it's Great Britain 0, Argentina 0 at the Yves de Manoir Stadium. This is Great Britain's final pool match then here at the Games. They've already qualified for the quarterfinals. We know all of the qualifiers actually in this pool already. It's just where they're going to finish in the standings that's significant today. And even at the end of this fixture, however this match turns out, we won't know until the end of today, when all the matches are completed, who Great Britain are actually going to be playing in the quarterfinals. It will be highly likely Netherlands, Germany or Belgium, but the other pool can finish in any which way. But Great Britain at the moment, they're fourth. They could finish as high as third, but they're taking on Argentina today, ranked second in the world. They were silver medalists in Tokyo, and it's been end-to-end stuff. I want to give a bit of a shout out to Mim Pritchard, who's the Great Britain goalkeeper. She has been absolutely throwing herself around as they just put her highlights up on the big screen, saving all kinds of Argentina goals, particularly in that second quarter. But at half-time, it is Great Britain 0, Argentina 0.
Sarah, thank you. Back and forth to Sarah as the morning goes along. Here at the Stade de France, we've got athletics action in front of us. I'm the newbie. I'm just lapping up everything. We are going to talk pole vaulting in a minute because we've got one of the superstars of the sport taking place. But Kath Mary and Ali Kirbishley are with me. The job I'd like is driving those little cars that collect the discus.
That's a popular one, I think.
It's a popular job, that. It's a popular job. Isn't it fantastic? The kind of implement retrieval vehicles.
That's
what they're called, apparently.
There you go.
They're what? They're called which what?
The implement retrieval vehicle.
Of course they are. Is that a sponsorship business, or are people just too lazy to carry the discus back? How does it... What?
It used to be, back in our day. There'd be one official carrying it back. But I do remember, that shows how old I am, the first time we saw that, and everyone got very excited.
It speeds up the competition as well from a logistical point of view, Livesey. Do you know what I mean? You can't be waiting for an official to trudge back with an implement nowadays. God forbid. We have to bang, bang.
Because
the implement trudge backer is redundant, I guess.
Because it's not like it's your own. That's a pool of implements, and obviously everyone can pick whichever discus they want. It's not like that's my discus and no one else. Pole vault's different. It is their pole vault. But to be fair, any other pole vaulter can use somebody's pole, I think. I'm pretty certain. I need to double check that with Backley.
If you need to, you can.
Yeah.
But you've just quickly reminded me of a story that Steve Backley, our TV colleague, said on the bus on the way here yesterday, Livesey. Yeah. I reminded Steve Backley that he delayed the 10 o'clock news back in the day when he set a world record in the javelin at Crystal Palace. And I said, remind me which javelin you use, Steve. And he said, I borrowed one of Jan Zalesny's, his big rivals. And Steve said he went over to him and said, your javelin looks good. Can I have a go on that? And he threw a world record and beat Jan Leslie's world record with his own javelin, Livesey.
Which is amazing. So I'm thinking, hang on, if I'm a great pole vaulter and I've carried my pole here and it's my prized one, somebody can come and demand to use that?
I am pretty certain that somebody else can use a pole, but I need to double check that from Steve Buckley. But the thing is with Mondo, and I know we're going to chat about him in a minute, but
yes.
Mondo Duplantis, the great world record holder, defending champion from Sweden, he uses a pole that no one else can because it's so long. He really the ability to be able to carry a pole along a runway and sprint for 35 metres and then plant it into the box is just, there's only him that can do it.
Well, one of the highlights for me, again, being here early, I mentioned this earlier, the pole vaulters were actually running on the 100 metres course with their poles just charging down it.
There is an official time for the 100 metres carrying a pole.
Is that?
Yeah, they do it in America.
That's right up your street. Or up your pole, that is. You'd have a go at that, Livesey.
I'd have a go at that. Let's talk about him then. Mondo Duplantis, world and Olympic champion. The last time he lost in a major competition was in 2019. Let's have a quick listen to him.
I do compete against myself in the sense of mentally. I think it's always been like that, whether I was the best in the world or, just starting out, because you're just trying to jump as high as you possibly can on the day, and you're trying to get the most out of yourself and see how high you can put that bar up there, and that's just kind of the nature of the sport. You're trying to see how high you can go. It's not like a sport where you have to react to what other people are doing. It's not. It's a lonely sport in that kind of way. So you just compete on the scorecard, and I try to jump as high as I can, and then hopefully I end up on top.
But you are a pioneer, no one's done this before. There isn't a template that people can look at and say, this is what he's done. Do you sit back and appreciate that? Do you get a chance to appreciate it at all?
I do. Yeah, I feel like I'm quite grateful. I think that, when as an athlete, life just goes so fast also. And I try to sit back and I try to appreciate all the amazing moments that I've been able to have. I try to, when something like a world record happens or I win a crazy championship, I try to celebrate it. I try to really enjoy those kind of moments and not take them for granted, because I know how special it is, a lot of the things that I'm doing. And so probably not as much as I should, but I try my absolute best to appreciate it.
And of course, this year is extra special. It's Olympic year, once every 4 years. Obviously, it's been 3 since Tokyo, but have you got a different mindset as trying to retain your title? You hear a lot of greats in the sport talk about it's harder to retain than to win it that first time. Do you feel any different going into this year as you did in Tokyo?
Yeah, I definitely feel different, but I think in a really good way. I think that I've learned how to handle, I guess, being on the top and being the guy that everybody's trying to hunt. And I think that the most important thing for me is just to really not focus on it and just never take my foot off the gas and just keep trying to go absolute full throttle all the time. I don't try to play the game in the sense of just trying to win. I know that if I go out there and I jump as high as I possibly can and as high as I know that I can jump, then I should end up on top. So if I just try to keep it simple and I just try to keep my foot on their neck, I guess, in a sense, then it should work out.
That's Sweden's Mondo Duplantis, a giant in his field. Ali, where is he? I'm trying to look for someone with the longest pole over there. Can we spot him? I haven't got my binoculars.
Al's squinted her eyes as well. In a nutshell, he's always hard to find because there's 31 athletes, Tony, in the qualifying of the pole vault. They're split into 2 pools. Mondo will be found normally flat on his back under somewhere in the shade, because he only has to probably vault once or twice here today. He's due to enter at 5 metres and 60. The automatic qualifying is 5 metres and 80. His world record is 6:24. He doesn't do much. So he's in amongst those 31 athletes there in the shade, just waiting for his turn. And it will be in a few minutes' time. But he's the greatest of all time, end of story. A 22-year-old that has won everything, has the Olympic gold. Born in the USA, his mother is Swedish, hence he vaults for Sweden. But he'll be relaxing somewhere and taking it all in, as he was just telling Alison in that lovely interview. He's learned to be patient, Mondo Duplantis, because most of the time he comes in when over 3/4 of the field are out.
Yeah, that cheer and that groan you heard was the French fella headbutting the bar. He knocked it off. I want to see Mondo. Can someone give me a heads up when Mondo does it? Because I do want to see him in action.
We've got a while. We've got about 8 vaulters ahead of him.
Oh,
if he is coming, I presume he is.
Yeah,
he
he's
hasn't
coming in at
passed. He's coming in at 5:60. He's just sat on one of the benches facing us with his yellow vest, blue tights on.
Just listening to that interview, how difficult is it when you're basically competing against yourself?
That's what I was trying to get out of him. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, this is a guy who, when you talk to any of the vaulters out there, and they've got a great camaraderie, the vaulters, they all look to him and say, no one's ever going to beat him because technically he does stuff that we can't do. He's vaulted since he was 3, 4. There's the most amazing footage because Greg Duplantis, his father, was an American vaulter, went to the Olympic Games. His mum was a multi-eventer. She was a sprint hurdler and multi-eventer. So all he's ever done since as soon as he could walk is put a pole in his hand and so the footage on YouTube, we knew that this young kid was coming up through the ranks. He's smashing all of the junior records. And then when you started digging down, he's had a vault world record since he was 9. You know, no one ever does vault at 9. Usually they come from gymnastics. So they move across. Molly Caudry, who will see the world's #1 from Great Britain. She's only 22, but she's been vaulting since she was moving across from gymnastics. So what the guys say, the Sam Kendricks, the American, and the likes that go up against him, is that technically he does stuff that we just cannot do. And that's why you never... He's moved this... You know, he's had the world record since 2020. As you said, in a major champs, he's been unbeaten since 2019. But the mental state of having to constantly think about how do I make myself better, it is just amazing.
He's 5'11" and weighs 79 kilograms. To give our listeners an idea,
What's that in old money?
He's a slight. It's about 174, 175 pounds. He's slight but extremely powerful in the gym, and he's literally, as Alison was talking there, Tony, he's got up, he had a little wander round, and he's now sat back down again on one of the bleachers and waiting for his turn, and he is due up in about, as Alice said, about 7 or 8 vaulters time. But you have to see this, Tony, because the margin, touch wood, don't want to curse our world record holder, but the margin that he should clear, his opening height of 560 by, will make you go, oh my days. Brilliant. And think of London buses. That's all I'm saying.
That is why I'm here, so I'll keep my eye on that. Meanwhile, we're off to the rowing. This is our first chance of a medal this morning. It's the women's 8. Jess Eddy and Chris Jones are watching.
Here we go, Tony. Yep, the women's 8 in lane 1, Italy, lane 2, Canada, lane 3, Romania, lane 4, Great Britain, lane 5, the USA, lane 6, Australia. Stories everywhere you look. The Olympic champions, Canada, the world champions and European champions, Romania. They're doubling up, Jess Eddy. The likes of Bodnar and Radis from the double are back in the 8. It's something rare. It's something only the Romanians seem to do. And you just said this is making you feel sick. You've been on that start line 3 times before. The memories must come flooding back now with seconds to go to the off.
Yep, I've been okay all week, and then the start of this final, I know what it's like to sit there and feel that nervousness. You've got 6 minutes, 2,000 metres to make your Olympic dream happen.
And Team GB have been picking up silver medals this season. They've not quite been able to assert themselves as favourites, but they are in the mix. Henry Fieldman at Cox, then Annie Campbell-Ord at stroke, Hattie Taylor, Eve Stewart, Lauren Irwin, Emily Ford, Holly Dunford, Roe McKellar and Heidi Long at bow, and they are off. The final of the women's 8. The men's 8 still to come. GB going for gold, looking to add gold to the women's quad. The women's lightweight double, 6 medals so far for Team GB on the lake. A vast improvement on Tokyo, but can these two crews, the men's 8 in a bit, but now the women's 8, finish this regatta strongly? Your thoughts on the opening 100 or so metres, Jess Eddy?
The Romanians have gone out really hard. We thought we were going to see that from them. They've been rowing all week in different boat classes. We want to see how much is taken out of them, but right now they're leading this field.
These are the blue riband events. The biggest boats, the fastest boats, and with 250 metres gone, it looks like Romania, Bodnar and Radis, the great double sculls pair, they are in this boat with so many other competitors who have already raced in other categories this week. The Romanians lead by a metre from Canada. GB sitting in there, 2-3 metres back from the Romanians in 3rd place.
Good start from GB. We're right up there at the front of this field. The 8 is more of a sprint race. It's almost a minute shorter than some of the boats we saw yesterday, like the women's lightweight double sculls. So you've got to get out out hard, but look at Canada to go. They're leading now. They've just taken the lead from Romania. GB in third.
Quarter of the race gone, 500 metres. It's Canada just edging ahead of Romania. GB in third, but it is so tight. The Italians slightly languishing over on the far side in lane 1. But at the moment, the 5 boats are all in the mix here. 500 metres gone.
So Canada did this 3 years ago. We saw them in Tokyo. They were not favoured, but they went into the Olympic final in Tokyo and smashed it, led from the front. They've got a few remaining people in that event. There's 3 of them in there. A bit of experience is showing, but GB are clinging on to the Romanians, and that's who they want to go with here coming into the second quarter of the race.
Romania lead just by a nose or so from Canada in second place, but GB going nicely in third. Then a bit of a gap to the Americans. Remember, the USA used to dominate this event. Champions in 08, champions in 12, champions in 16, beating you on the podium into silver in 2016, Jess. But at the moment, the Americans a little the way back in fourth with the Italians and the Australians in fifth and sixth.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a slow showing from the American women for sure. They looked a bit sluggish in this event and across their women's boats. So right now, that's pretty good for the GB women's team because they're up about 2 seats, about 6 metres on the Americans. Really strong from the GB crew there.
Yeah, real case of blink and you miss it. This 8, they are going at super speed. They're motoring along as we go towards the 1,000-metre mark, which is halfway, and the Romanians lead by a quarter of a length from Canada in second. GB sitting in there nicely in lane 4 in third place. But will the Romanians tire? They've been doubling up. A lot of these competitors have already raced in big finals this week. The GB crew should be super fresh.
Well, I think Canada are going to tire. They've gone out hard, and if anything, they're slipping back, and GB look like they're really pushing for that silver medal position as we speak.
Jess Eddy, a silver medalist in this event in 2016, the best ever finish for a women's 8. But can this 8? Can this 8, coxed by Henry Fieldman, who won a bronze in Tokyo? He switched from the men's 8 to the women's 8. Can he push them forward for the last 800 metres? It's still Romania who lead. Half the boat's length to Canada in second, then GB just behind in third.
This is fierce, this is ferocious, this is the fastest boat class you're going to see at this regatta. The 8 is over in a heartbeat. These crews now got 700 metres. It's pretty level for about third and second, I'd say.
Romania's stroke rate is higher than the rest at 41 strokes. Italy and Australia do look at the moment out of medal contention. The USA haven't been able to get a move on, but Romania's lead is starting to stretch inch by inch, stroke by stroke. It looks like Romania are in pole position with 600 metres to go. Is this a battle for silver between the likes of Canada and GB?
And watch out for USA. USA just to the right of GB. They've made a little move. GB have got about 2 or 3 metres on them. The mighty Americans. Are we going to see them coming through here?
Well, this is so impressive from Romania, the world champions and the European champions, but we've seen plenty of boats lead at the 1,500 metre mark and not end up with the gold. At the moment, Romania's lead is almost a length from Canada in second, GB third, USA fourth. It looks like Canada, GB and USA are rowing for silver and bronze with Italy and Australia behind.
This is it now. They've got the last 500 metres. This is painful. Their lungs are burning. Their hearts are beating. But you've got to give it now. Come on, GB. What have you got?
Under 400 metres to go. The biggest 400 metres of the careers of this GB 8. 350 metres to go. It's still Romania. They look in control. They were favourites before the race. The world champions, the European champions. But it is so tight now between Canada in lane 2, GB in lane 4, USA in lane 5. The Romanians continue to storm ahead with 250 metres to go, but GB are just putting some open water on the States, and they look like they're fighting Canada for silver.
I think we're moving. I think GB are moving as bow ball to bow ball with Canada. Are they going to get into the silver medal position here? I think the USA, we've lost them. They've got no sprint in their legs. It's Romania, Canada, GB. Let's move, GB.
Under 150 metres to go. Listen to the grandstands and the sunshine on the lake in Paris, and I think GB have dropped the USA now, and now they're going at it with Canada for silver. Gold is going to Romania. A brilliant performance from the Romanian 8. But Henry Fieldman, the cox, is telling his 8 to work with every single bit of effort they've got. With 50 metres to go, Romania going to get the gold. It's Canada or GB for silver. It looks like Canada with 30 metres to go. One last push, GB, but no, Canada take the silver. Great Britain with a bronze. Romania win the women's 8. Another brilliant race on the lake. And it's Canada who just have enough to beat GB and win the silver. arms aloft from this brilliant Romanian crew. What a performance from them. They win bronze, Canada second, and GB winning the 7th medal for Team GB on this lake this week. It's a bronze for the women's 8.
What a race from the GB crew. They were there with the Canadians, but the Romanians today, we've got to hand it to them. They went out there, they've been doubling up all week, and now they've won the biggest of the events, the women's 8. But GB, I think they have to have a huge pat on the back. Huge result from them, a bronze.
Were they always racing for silver, not just in the race, but before, when you consider how good the Romanians are?
I think if you look at the form book, you'd say they were going to come second or third, but they put it out there today. There was a point, that second 500, I looked at that GB crew, they looked loose, they looked confident. We've not seen that in them this Olympiad, and I think you've got to put this into context. This is only the second ever Great Britain medal in this event, so they've really started to put the British women back on the map in these big boats. Great.
Heidi Long at bow, Rowan McKellar, Holly Dunford, Emily Ford, Lauren Irwin, Eve Stewart, Hattie Taylor, Annie Campbell-Ord at stroke, and Cox Henry Fieldman, who won a bronze in Tokyo with the men's 8 and has now won a bronze in Paris with the women's 8. Bronze for the women's 8, Tony. The men go in just over 10 minutes' time.
Yeah, we'll be back for that. Jess, how do they look? You said they should be delighted. Do they look delighted or slightly gutted that they didn't quite snatch silver?
I think they look exhausted, probably, as my first reaction.
That's a very good point.
I think you're looking at a crew that half of them are new to the Olympics. Emily Ford in there, she came last in this event 3 years ago. And a couple of these rowers have been in their women's 4 as well, so they've not actually ever been close to being on the Olympic podium. I think right now, that race they put together, do you know what? They gave it a good go through the middle of the race. They've got to be proud of that. I think they'll be absolutely overjoyed to be standing on that Olympic podium today.
Yeah, brilliant. Henry Fieldman as well. We mentioned that's a quirky fact. He now becomes the first person ever to win a medal in the men's and the women's event, which is quite remarkable. And Chris, will be back with you for the men who are actually favourites.
Yeah, I think that's a point worth making. This women's 8, I don't think we're ever in gold medal contention. I know the Romanians have doubled up all week and would and should be tired, but they've got such class and pedigree. So it felt like a joust for silver at best from the women's 8, not just in the race, but in the build-up as well. But you're right, Tony, the men's 8, they're double world champions. They come into this with pedigree, with experience, with winning form, but beware the USA in lane 3 and a few others. So yeah, join us in 10 for the final. I was going to say the final race of this regatta. Remember, the men's single sculls has been delayed to 10:30, but from a GB point of view, it all comes down now to the men's 8 in 10 minutes time, but GB on the podium in the women's 8 with a bronze.
Brilliant. Let's get an update on the women's hockey. They're playing Argentina. Sarah Orchard's watching that.
Yeah, this is Great Britain's final pool match. They've already qualified for the quarter-finals, taking on Argentina, ranked second in the world, and an incredible 5-minute period in this third quarter for Argentina, who now lead 2-0. Great Britain's Tess Howard was sent to the bin for a yellow card, and within 2 minutes, 2 goals for Argentina. A wonderful shot, first of all, came in by the snappily named Valentina Raposo Ruiz de los Llanos, and then 1 minute later, Augustina Aldatiro, she got over for Argentina's second. They were both quality goals as well, both field goals, not from penalty corners. And the Argentinians, known as Los Leonas, they really are expressing themselves out there. Great Britain, this is going to be a big task to come back now. 5 minutes to the third quarter to go. It's Argentina 2, Great Britain 0.
Perfect timing, Sarah, for us. Thank you here at the Athletics. Let's just talk through Mondo Duplantis' pole vault genius, Kath Merrick.
Well, he's standing on the runway to enter the qualification in the sunshine on the bright purple track. Mondo Duplantis, the Swedish star, the reigning Olympic world champion indoors and out. This is 5 metres and 60, Tony. So you can see he's on the runway.
Yes.
He's got his bright yellow vest of Sweden. He's
what
tight
a long pole he's
cycling
got.
shorts. And I tried to get your attention because before he put his pole on his right shoulder, he actually had it upright and you could see how long it was. Yeah. So here he goes. Everybody's being directed to Mondo Duplantis. 5 metres and 80 is the automatic qualifying. The crowd are getting behind him. Pole up for the Swedish star. First attempt at 5 metres and 60. He runs down. He plants.
Oh.
Give me your reaction, Tony.
I mean, that was just like stepping over a piece of Lego for him, wasn't it? That he was miles clear.
It's the nearest thing I think to flying. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, without somebody taking you up in a plane and jumping out. You know, this is purely self-propelled. I mean, it's such a beautiful sport to watch.
But his body language as well, it was just, it was just effortless. It's just a walk in the park for him, isn't it?
And the thing is, this qualifying started at 10:10. The camera zooming in on both of the big screens here at the Stade de France. He gives us a little smile. They're out always really early, Tony. You know, the pole vaulters will come out an hour and a half before to set themselves up. He waits patiently, as I said. He'll do 580 as his next attempt. That will automatically qualify him, and then we'll see him in the final on Monday.
That's it. I'm out of here. I like it. His socks are pulled up over his knees, which is a look. He's like a... I take it the French guy's gone over.
There you go. Calais of France going over at 5 metres and 60 on his second attempt, hence the roar of the crowd. Oh, he's a stylish young man, Mondo Duplantis, isn't he? He's a 24-year-old living his best life, shall we say.
He is. That is kind of the look of the football linesman, I would say, with the socks. Anyway, I've seen a world superstar in action, which is not bad for a Saturday morning, is it? Right, so we've had bronze in the rowing. The men go short with their favourites for gold. Going to be very exciting. Stay with us. Just break for the news now with Bethan Holmes.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
8 people have been arrested after violence in Sunderland. 3 police officers were injured last night. It's the latest unrest following the killing of 3 young girls in Southport on Monday. The BBC has identified at least 30 demonstrations being planned by far-right activists this weekend. Sue Sim is a former Chief Constable of Northumbria Police.
Shame on you. Those beautiful children's deaths should not allow such violent disorder. Do not allow yourselves to be swayed by individuals who are trying to promote social exclusion and disharmony.
Relatives of the victims of 9/11 have welcomed the revoking of a plea deal agreed with the man accused of masterminding the attacks. The original deal would have spared the alleged from the death penalty. The US says it's stepping up its military presence in the Middle East amid rising tensions. Our correspondent Jenny Hill is in Tel Aviv.
Iran has vowed retaliation against Israel for 2 assassinations, one of a Hamas leader, the other of a senior Hezbollah commander. Its proxies have all been brought into this too. Now, whilst urgent diplomacy is taking place to try to stop Israel's war on Gaza, launched in the wake of those October 7th attacks, from exploding into a wider conflict, the US has now said it will send more warplanes, fighter jets, more warships to the region, saying that its commitment to Israel's defence is ironclad. It's an extremely worrying time for this region.
It's now been reported a local leader of Hamas's military wing has been killed in an Israeli airstrike in the occupied West Bank. And US Vice President Kamala Harris has secured enough votes from Democratic delegates to officially be the party's presidential nominee. Ms. Harris and Donald Trump will go head-to-head in a TV debate next month.
If you're looking for laughs, lash! BBC iPlayer's got you covered.
Our eye was secured. Oh, this is where the magic happens.
With over 3,000 episodes of comedy favourites.
They make for great entertainers.
Including The Office, Gavin and Stacey, Two Doors Down, and many more.
Oh, what is that? Whoa. Put my stapler inside the jelly again.
Bring on the laughs.
What are you laughing at?
Watch on BBC iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Tony Livesey.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good morning, everyone. It's day 8 of Paris 2024. We're on the board this morning. Team GB have won their 7th rowing medal of the Games.
With 30 metres to go, one last push GB, but no, Canada take the silver. Great Britain with the bronze. Romania win the women's 8. Another brilliant race on the lake.
Yeah, the men's 8 final coming up in 5 minutes or so. The first of Britain's dressage riders is on the course shortly. Sonia McLaughlin's watching.
Horse and rider here in total harmony as the dressage team medals decided. Becky Moody and Jagerbomb, the first to go for Britain imminently. GB tipped to repeat the bronze they won in Tokyo.
The women's hockey team are up against Argentina this morning. Sarah Orchard's watching.
Nearly the end of the third quarter. It's Great Britain 0, Argentina 2. Great Britain already through to the quarter-finals. Today's matches in the hockey competition, it's all about your standing and who you are going to place in the last 8.
Sarah, thank you. We'll catch up with the cycling men's road race very shortly. That's getting underway. Here at the Stade de France, we've got the men's 100 metres heats. Shortly, we'll bring you highlights from that Team GB athletes in action. As you know, we'll bring you every Team GB medal live here on 5 Live. You can watch everything on the BBC Sport website and watch the best of the action on BBC One and the iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Tony Livesey.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Yes, here at the Stade de France, we've got the men's 100 metres heat. So, first round, I should say, coming up shortly. The world champion, Noah Lyles, for the USA. And 3 Brits in action too. So we'll keep you up to date with that. Let's talk cycling, though. The men's cycling road race is just underway. 2-time Olympic gold medalist Victoria Pendleton's watching alongside Conor McNamara. Good morning to you two.
Good
hello,
morning,
hello.
Tony. Well, if last night at the BMX racing we were watching very much a sprint in a race that was all over in just over 30 seconds, this is the other end of the scale. This is 273 kilometres. It's going to take them 5 or 6 hours to complete this. 90 riders, 13 named descents, an overall elevation gain of 2,800 metres, and the race about to start in central Paris, right in the middle at Invalides. The riders who have caused, I think it's fair to say, Victoria, a wonderful spectacle on a sunny Saturday morning in Paris, and so many roads and crossings have been shut to allow the cyclists through the heart of the city, and whether they like it or not, the spectators have to, you're not allowed to cross the road, you're almost forced to watch, so you've got tens and tens of thousands of people watching the start of this race. It's an amazing spectacle.
It really is, and I hope that there'll be remaining there at the end of the race when the guys come back in for the finish. It's one of those great events that anybody can come and enjoy, and I think it's what a lovely morning to be enjoying some road cycling.
Absolutely. So the Team GB interest, 4 riders in the race, which is the maximum allowed. They're trying not to allow any nation of too many of a big team where it becomes a tactical team sport. They want it open for the individuals, and all eyes on Tom Pidcock, who's already won gold on his mountain bike here in Paris. Josh Tarling, Stephen Williams, Fred Wright are the other Brits in the race. There's 2 Irish riders, Ben Healy and Ryan Mullen as well. This race, which will head out of the city by Versailles, long circuitous route. They'll re-enter later this afternoon the city in the north, whiz through Montmartre, back down through the heart of Paris, and eventually finishing at Trocadero, down by the Seine, right in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. It's always a wonderful sight, the big peloton, such a popular sport in France as well, Victoria, and we're looking forward to watching this over the next few hours, Tony.
Good stuff, Conor. Vic, thank you very much indeed. Men's 8 rowing in just a second. Gold medal chance for Team GB, but it's the end of the third quarter in the women's hockey. Sarah Orchard.
Yeah, we're just underway now in the fourth quarter, only about 10 seconds in. It's still Great Britain 0, Argentina 2. Now, already Great Britain, they are qualified for the quarterfinals. This is their final match. So this is all about us finishing high up the table as you possibly can, because if we were to draw the hockey draw right now, it means Great Britain would be playing the Dutch women. And the one thing you don't want to be doing in hockey ever is playing the Dutch women. They are just the absolute powerhouse of the whole world game. Doesn't matter if it's an Olympics, a World Cup. Le Orange are just an absolute machine. At the moment, as it stands, Great Britain will be playing them in the quarterfinals, but we've got the whole day's worth of hockey to actually get through before we actually find out if that's going to be the case. We've still got 14 minutes to go here. It's Great Britain 0, Argentina 2.
Sarah, thank you. Right, let's bring home a gold medal, shall we? Olympic silver medalist Jess Eddy is watching the men's 8 final alongside Chris Jones. Come on, Chris.
Thank you very much, Tony. Yeah, how are GB going to finish this brilliant week on the lake? Romania lane 1, Netherlands lane 2, USA lane 3, GB in lane 4, Germany in 5, Australia in 6, and they are off. Jess Eddy, Sholto Carnegie, Rory Gibbs, Morgan Boulding, Jacob Dawson, Charlie Elwes, Tom Digby, James Rudkin, Tom Ford at stroke, Harry Brightmore, the Cox. Through the first 100 metres, how's it looking?
Hot favourites for this event, GB, but the USA have been super fast this week, winning the men's 4. Are the men's 8 going to breathe off that success? GB right now, front of the field.
Yeah, they are front of the field. Early stages with 200 metres gone of this 2,000-metre race on the lake to the east of Paris. 4 men are back. 3 years on from a bronze medal in this event for Team GB. They're double world champions in 22 and 23. But, as we've been saying all week, Jess Eddy, it doesn't count for all that much how you've performed in the years preceding the games. It's what you do through these 2,000 metres, and the Netherlands have gone out strong. GB just behind in second.
Wow, the Dutch have gone out really hard. That famous orange, we've seen it in the middle of the podium quite a few times this week. Looking at them there, they've really taken it out to the field. But GB looking strong in the middle as we come into that first quarter marker.
Quickest race of the week, this, isn't it?
Yeah, fastest, biggest boat.
GB crossed the 500 metres mark in first place. Harry Brightmore, the Cox, willing on his team with Sholto Carnegie at bow and Tom Ford at stroke. The Dutch just about edged them through that first 500 metres. Remember, the women's aid getting a bronze, just pipped to silver by Canada, but already a bit of clear water here between GB and the Netherlands, who are almost inseparable side by side. Then a bit of a gap to the rest of the field.
Yeah, they've got to drop them, GB. I think the Dutch have gone off way too hard, but let's say their whole programme this week has been incredible. So are we seeing something special here in the Olympic final from the Dutch? GB in this second quarter looking strong at the front of the field.
1,200 metres to go in the final of the men's 8, capping off what's just been a brilliant week of racing on the lake. In lane 6, it looks like Australia may be out of it, Romania 2. What about Germany and the USA? Because at the moment, it's Netherlands and Great Britain. And you just saw, with 1,100 metres to go, a bit of extra effort there on the face of Sholto Carnegie at bow.
This crew is so strong. They've gone through these incredible systems in the US college system, in the UK college system, Oxford Brookes. They are really, really strong crew, and that's why they're hot favourites, and that's why they're leading out right now. But the Dutch are really close to them as we go through the halfway marker.
They've won gold medals at the Rowing World Cups this year, Team GB. Back-to-back world champions. It's going to put them in such great stead, but nothing can replicate the pressure. Nothing can replicate the intensity, as we've said so many times over the last few days. When you get on that start line, when you cross the 1,000-metre mark as they've just done, when you come into the final 500 metres, you'll never have experienced something like that.
You can't know what it feels like until you've been there, and GB, as we speak, we're bow ball ahead of the Dutch. Here's your chance to move, GB.
Can they move now? With 800 metres to go, they've just started to edge ahead of the Dutch. The USA in third, then Germany, Romania and Australia will be making up the places. It looks like a three-way shootout here between the Netherlands on the far side in 2, USA in 3 and GB in lane 4, who lead by about a metre or so. It's a tiny fraction of a boat's length.
These are giants of the rowing world, and they're the biggest guys, they're in the fastest boat, and right now GB have been unwavering. The Dutch have not dented them, and as we are looking at it, they're moving away, Chris.
This is the time for GB to put the foot on the throat, to put the hammer down, to go full throttle. Look at the intensity on the face of Harry Brightmore. He's the Cox, he's the brains of the operation, and he's telling his machine to whir into life, and they're doing just that with 500 metres to go. Romania, Australia, Germany, they look out of it. USA in third, the Netherlands in second, but Team GB out in front at the moment, and their lead is about half a length.
They've established the lead as they go into this final quarter. It's so fast, this race. It's going to be about a minute and 20 seconds till the end. They've got to start believing now. Move away from the field, GB.
400 life-changing metres coming up for Team GB, but we've seen this before. We've seen teams lead with only a few hundred metres to go and get reeled in. These three are miles out in front, the Netherlands and the USA, but it's Great Britain who have a lead of about a third of a boat's length. A little look to the left from Jacob Dawson and from Morgan Boulding. They know they're 200 metres away from history here.
This could be it for GB, this powerhouse. Look at the move, they look stronger, more confident than anyone else on the lake. A little look across from Tom Ford, James Rudkin, head in the boat, guys.
200 metres from GB rowing greatness for this men's 8. It was bronze for 4 of them. 3 years ago, Dawson, Elwes, Ford and Rudkin. It was bronze in Tokyo, but they're back 3 years on to go 2 better and go into the middle of the podium. The gap is still about a third of a length with 80 metres to go. They can't lose it from here, can they? The focus on their faces. They can't look around. They've got to stick to the task. The Netherlands trying to rally, but it's GB who win the men's 8. A brilliant end to the week for the GB rowers to cap off a magnificent week of racing and a huge turnaround from Tokyo. And Harry Brightmore is up on his feet at the front of the boat. He's almost fallen in the water. He's pointing to all 8. To Sholto Carnegie, to Rory Gibbs, to Morgan Boulding, Jacob Dawson, Charlie Elwes, Tom Digby, James Rugbin. Rudkin and Tom Ford. He's pointing to them and he's saying, "You are the men."
That was an absolute masterclass. They were never troubled. The Dutch threw everything at them, and you know what? They didn't. They just, walked off a duck's back. They moved away when it counted. They looked like the strongest, most confident boat out there. Gold.
And we've seen a few times, haven't we? It was the women's 4 that got reeled in, the men's pair got reeled in, but this 8, this machine, they weren't going anywhere.
They are the fastest boat in the world, and they've proven it, and they've gone out there, and they deserve this gold medal.
Gold for GB in the 8, Tony. You're the lucky charm.
I've done it. I've got to go. I tell you what, is anybody else exhausted listening to that? Blimey, that was very, very stressful indeed. It's notable. I've got TV pictures here in the Stade de France. It's notable that Cox has a bit more energy left than the other guys for a start.
he can get to, it's all right for him. He can get to his feet and celebrate, can't he?
He's crying now.
The other 8 completely spent. But what a picture that was when Harry Brightman got to his feet and sort of balancing precariously on the edge of the boat, pointing to all of them and say, "You've done it. You've done it."
Jess, talk us through, because Chris was saying he's the brains of the operation. So, to an outsider like me, the Cox is sat there going, row, row, row. What is he doing during that race?
So he's steering, actually. So normally in a boat, when you don't see a cox, you have a little bit of wire attached to a rudder on your foot, and you steer with your foot. So the bigger boats are slightly harder to do that, so you have steering. But to be honest, when you're in the middle of this boat, you can't hear each other. So the smaller boats, someone shouting instructions of what we're going to do and when, you can't hear that in these huge boats. It's so noisy, it's so ferocious. So the cox is telling you the race plan, but they can also change the plan. They can also say, okay guys, the Dutch have given everything, give me a big 10 now and let's move away. So they're really the tacticians, they're the conductor of this entire symphony, as it were.
Right, and I'm now getting into detail. He's got a microphone on, so is that a loudspeaker in the boat? How does he communicate with the guy farthest away?
Yeah, exactly. So he's got a kind of headset, so he's got microphones, and we have little speakers all the way down the boat, so you can hear what they're saying. Otherwise, it would just be lost into the air.
Right. Okay. Well, look. Let's get back to the actual gold medal itself. Jess, sum up this achievement for this 8.
It's huge. We won this event famously in 2016. We also won it in 2000 in Sydney. Steve Trapmore, he stroked the men's 8 to that gold in Sydney. He's the coach of this 8, so he's telling the guys exactly what this experience is like. They'll have had, the most incredible first-hand experience from their coach of how to get it done. So awesome.
And it's a bit of a contradiction, Tony, because this is seen as the blue ribband event of the whole regatta. They save the women's 8 and the men's 8 till last, but there are 8 of them, so they don't get their names up in lights, do they? Like a single sculler or a pair or a quad or a forward. But it's hard to single any of them out, but they know that it's just an enormous team effort. And Tom Ford, his sister Emily won a bronze medal half an hour ago, so can you imagine the pride in that family?
Yeah, and Chris, you've called it perfectly all week, mate. You've done a brilliant job, you and Jess. Just let's, before we move on, let's sum up this amazing week for British rowing, because we talked at the start of the show, before we got these medals, that they've had their, we called it their cycling moment. The sport's turned itself around from Tokyo. Explain the concept.
Yeah, so I think, look, the GB rowers and I suppose the British public have become a bit conditioned and accustomed to GB rowing success. When you think of all the great names that trip off the tongue, like Helen Glover and Heather Stanning and Redgrave and Pinson, and look what they did in London 2012. But then Tokyo was such a disappointment with that 1 silver and the 1 bronze. And we've touched on a few of those reasons with the pandemic and the change of performance director and everything going on behind the scenes. But to outline what they've achieved this week, they sent 10 boats to this regatta, and 8 of those 10 have finished up on the podium. The only 2 who didn't were the men's quad, who finished narrowly in 4th, and the women's pair, who didn't qualify for the final. But 8 of the 10 have made the podium. You could even argue they could have had 5 golds. How close were Helen Glover and her team in the women's 4, and how close were Ollie Wynne-Griffith and Tom George in the men's pair? So it's 3 golds, 2 silver and 3 bronze, 8 medals. But it could even have been 8 medals with 5 golds rather than 3. But on the whole, if you speak to anyone at GB Rowing, given where they were in Tokyo 3 years ago, to go from 2 medals to 8, to quadruple the tally, and have 8 of the 10 boats that arrived in Paris on the podium, that's a pretty good return, isn't it?
I think so. Chris, sterling work from you. Jess, very quickly, final word. Does it still give you a buzz to watch things like this?
Oh, I've been sick with nerves at the start of today. They started showing the women's 8s warming up, and that feeling doesn't go away. So I'm ever so proud of the team. I'm absolutely over the moon for the huge steps on we've made.
Jess, you've been on your feet punching the air. That's not an answer to your question.
I'm sweating. I'm sweating.
I am as well. I found that hugely stressful but hugely enjoyable. Guys, Chris, Jess, brilliant stuff. Thanks,
Tony.
Thanks very much. There we are, bronze in the women's 8, gold in the men's 8 this morning. Exciting stuff. There's a goal in the women's hockey, Sarah Orchard.
Yeah, and it's another one for Argentina. Great Britain 0, Argentina 3. 3 minutes left of this match now, and Great Britain's women have just been outclassed by Las Leonas so far this morning at Yves de Manoir Stadium. It would take something quite incredible now to actually make this scoreline respectable. Of course, this last match doesn't actually matter. Great Britain, they are already through to the quarterfinals. It does have significance of where they're going to end up in the table. And as I said, at the moment it looks like they're going to qualify in 4th position. And that's highly likely going to mean that they're going to meet the Dutch in the next round in that quarter-final. But we can't confirm any of that till the end of the day, and we also need to wait for this one to finish. Still 2 minutes, 38 seconds to play. Great Britain 0, Argentina 3.
Cheers, Sarah. Let's head back to the Palace Versailles. It's the dressage team final. Joining us now is 3-time Olympic medalist Tina Cook, alongside or watching with us, Sonia McLaughlin. Sonia, hello to you. Britain's first rider has been and gone.
Yes, Becky Moody with your favourite horse, Jaeger Bomb. And honestly, Tony, they have just had to ride the biggest dressage tests of their lives. Their Olympic debut, it's in the team final in the Palace of Versailles, and Becky Moody has come up and made a very, very strong start for Great Britain, because Britain, of the 8 horses that have gone so far, have gone into gold medal position with a very solid test from Becky Moody and Jaeger Bomb. They scored 76.489. Basically, it's 36 highly complicated, different movements. They're scored out of 10, so 10 excellent, 0 less so. Some of the marks carry double marks, and then the numbers are crunched at the end, and it's turned into a percentage score. So 76.489 for Becky Moody is the best of the day so far. And Tina Cook, that's a really good platform for Britain to build on, isn't it?
Oh, and as Becky Moody came in, reasonably last minute, but her form on this horse, he's only a 10-year-old, it was effortless, elegant. I mean, it wouldn't have been the flashiest of tests, but it was so consistent, and Becky rode it absolutely beautifully, and they looked so at one together. Just mistake-free, and when you're coming to a championship like this, however flashy you can be, then the errors are more obvious. So the consistency was quite beautiful to watch.
Well, you talk about consistency, Tina. I was furiously scribbling down her scores as we went through for all 36 different movements, and it was consistently 7.5 to 8, 7.5 to 8, 7.5 to 8. That's what you need from a rider, don't you, in a team?
Totally, and especially your first rider out. We've got Lottie Fry and Carl Hester to come. They would be expected to get a better mark, but to get your number one out there to put a really solid test in, it couldn't have been better.
She had a couple of 9s as well.
Totally, and I think the judges just would have seen that she sat so still. She had such a light contact down the rein. Nothing looked forced. They totally understood what each one were expecting of each other. And for a 10-year-old in this atmosphere, and only really recently stepping up to this level of competition, what a wonderful horse that is, and what a brain to be able to stay concentrating all the way through that test and asked to do such tricky movements. It was really quite wonderful.
Tony, the horses here that cannot be any younger than 8 years old. That's the rule. And so Jaeger Bomb at 10 is still a relative novice in terms of elite dressage. So he's come out here and laid down a fabulous marker for Great Britain and got them off to a really good start.
Yeah, absolutely. Tina, hello, it's Tony here. Welcome to the coverage, certainly as far as I'm concerned. Great to speak to you. What we know the circumstances around Charlotte Dujardin not being here, but Becky Moody, how prepped would she have been? I mean, what she couldn't have imagined, I guess, getting the call up. So how quickly has that turnaround been, do we think?
Well,
any rider that has a competitive spirit in them at all and feel that they're quite close. She would have been preparing to have come here at least last year, trying to put in her best performances, competing at the most high profile competitions that she could do with this horse without rushing the horse, with the age, bringing age into the equation. So she's come out this spring and she's competed and did well in Rotterdam, which is where the main sort of selection really from dressage point of view. So yes, she has prepared for this opportunity, but to come in as the reserve rider, you suddenly is a whole different outlook on it. But no, she absolutely, and you can see that she was prepared for it. The test was so fluent, and there's a horse in there now in the arena as we're speaking now from Denmark that had started off with better marks but then has been making mistakes, so is now back on with Becky Moody, who is still holding the lead as we speak at the moment. So no, there's no surprises, and it's a great start for her.
And I should say, this rider in the arena is from Denmark, who are tipped to get a silver medal here. This is Daniel Bachmann Anderson, and Tina is right. Becky Moody, there were no fives in her test. He's been picking up quite a few fives during this test, and so that will start to impact the overall team results. So it's really strong from Becky Moody.
Good stuff. Yeah, nothing's certain in sport. We've established that, haven't we? If nothing else over these 8 days. Tina, thank you. Speak to you soon. Sonia, speak to you soon as well. The team there watching the dressage. Let's turn to the swimming now. La Defense Arena. A good morning to Alistair Bruce-Ball and Olympic bronze medalist Steve Parry. Gentlemen, hello to you.
Good morning, Tony.
How's the mood there? I'm at the Stade de France, guys. I don't know if you've been here. Well, you will have been, Ali, over the years, but it's packed now. It's brilliant. I mean, it can hold 70,000 for the athletics. It's a cracking atmosphere. And I know, Ali, you've been really impressed with the atmosphere there at the swimming all week.
Yeah, I think they've nailed it with pretty much all the arenas, haven't they, Tony? It's quite funny at the swimming. I don't know whether the athletics is the same. It's a sort of slow build during the day because the medal races aren't until the evening, so it's qualification in the morning. And I think people come in and they're still sort of waking up a bit and, putting away the old pain au chocolat and the early morning coffee. And then they sort of get revved up with the music and the light show before the swimming starts. We've had a bit of splash and dash already this morning, Tony. For the uninitiated, I've learned that term during these Olympics. That's the 50 metres freestyle. So we saw Ben Proud win a silver in the men's 50 metres freestyle last night. One length of the pool. These are the fastest athletes in the water in the world over a very short distance. Anna Hopkins, Steve, swimming for Great Britain this morning, has squeaked into the semi-finals, hasn't she?
Yeah, couldn't have been too much closer. She was joint 11th before the final heat went. We were worried that she was going to have to go into a swim-off to make it through to the semi-finals, but she squeezed in, Tony, in joint 15th place. So she's through. A little bit of a scare, but she'll be looking to make that final later tonight.
And I think that's the other thing to say, Tony. So there's 2 more days of this swimming meet to go. Great Britain have 5 medals on the board. It's a gold and 4 silvers. There are 8 more medals to be won. Would it be fair to say, Steve, from this point in, any other medal will be a bonus? It's hard to see Great Britain adding to that tally.
Yeah, I can't see where the medals are going to come from. I mean, usually we'd rely on Adam Peaty. Adam Peaty used to be so dominant. He would give us an advantage of a couple of seconds over the next best breaststroker from any other country.
In the relays.
In the relays, that's right. And we've got a mixed medley relay. 2 women, 2 men. You get to pick any order you want to do there. And then of course, the men's relay, which is very much the swan song to the meet, which will be on the last day.
Guys, hold that thought. I'll be back in a second. I want to talk Monsieur Marchand with you both, but we're just off to the hockey with Sarah, full-time England GB against Argentina.
Yeah, it's all over and it's a loss for GB. It's finished Great Britain 0, Argentina 3. Now, we already knew that Great Britain had qualified for the quarter-finals, but it means they are probably now going to finish in 4th position. They can't go any higher than that. That essentially, Tony, is going to put them on a collision course now with the Dutch. The Netherlands, they top the other pool, and when I say they're a hockey powerhouse, how's this for some stats? The Dutch are the reigning and 4-time Olympic gold medalists. They're not just Olympic champions, they're the current World, European and Pro League champions. So this is possibly the worst outcome of getting into the quarterfinals for Great Britain, but we won't actually be able to confirm that until all of the pool matches have finished today. But highly likely Great Britain's women will be playing the Dutch in the quarterfinals on Monday.
Yeah, not great really in prospect there, but anyway, you never know. Sarah, thank you very much indeed. Sarah Orchard watching women's Team GB hockey. If you can hear all the cheers here at the Stade de France, the women's 800 metres repechage has just ended in front of us with the French athlete Anne Bourgon winning. Hence all the occasionally there's a massive upsurging noise here. It happened about 10 minutes ago, and I had to look everywhere till I finally found where it was. It was a fella in the discus. But you've got to keep your eyes everywhere to see where the French are, but the tricolours are flying here. Fantastic atmosphere, brilliant. I think next up, or not far away, is the men's 100 metres first round, so we've got GB action there. We'll be back with Kath. And now for that, back to the swimming pool, ABB and Steve Parry. Guys, yesterday, I don't know if you managed to hear it, we had a magical moment on 5 Live when Teddy Riner, the great French judo hope, won gold, and we had the Marseillaise. It was superb. And Steve, Leon Marchand, vying with him for the big name of the games as far as France is concerned. Just put into context what he's achieved, Steve.
Yeah, I got to say, Tony, I loved it yesterday. It's not often swimming gets top billing over athletics, but I loved it when the athletics paused for a moment last night as all the crowd are watching on their phones. Leon Marchand going in the pool. I thought that was a great moment for me. But you know, this week Leon Marchand has been compared to Michael Phelps being one of the greatest swimmers of all time, and it's not unwarranted. There are only ever 3 male swimmers that have won 4 gold medals at a swim meet. Mark Spitz, 1972, Michael Phelps, 2008, and Leon Marchand from France in Paris. There's no doubt he is a better swimmer. He's broken Michael Phelps' 400-metre individual medley record. He's broken Michael Phelps' Olympic record on the 200 IM. He's faster than him on the 200 metres butterfly, and he's more versatile. The most impressive thing that he's done this week is he's done a double in a 200-metre breaststroke. Now, those guys are bizarre. You know, I don't consider breaststroke as proper swimmers, right? It's just such a technical event for them to be able to do. And he's done a double in a 200 breaststroke and a 200 butterfly in the same night on the butterfly event. He had arguably the most dominant and celebrated butterfly swimmer in history, Christophe Milak, and he just took him out. So it's actually going to take me a little bit of time to digest quite how good he is, but it's been the entertainment value as well, Tony. It was like being in a football stadium in here last night. They were unfurling banners across one segment of the arena. It's just been great. It's been a privilege to witness it.
A couple of nights when he's been swimming, I've been just near the hotel having a bite to eat, and all the bars, you suddenly hear this massive cheers coming out of all the bars. You know, Paris is alive with Marchand fever, which is great. You mentioned Mark Spitz, Steve. I was 8 when he won those 7 gold medals, and I always remember the picture of him in his Speedos with 7 medals round his neck. Is it inevitable these guys get better and better? I mean, you mentioned Spitz, Phelps and Marchand. Is Marchand number 1, Phelps 2, Spitz 3? How do you begin to rank them in different eras?
Oh, we'd need a really good bottle of Bordeaux and a couple of hours to put that one to bed, I think. So if we can make that happen, that would be great. But just imagine this: Spitz on his 200 metres butterfly is only as fast as Marchand is on breaststroke. Now, I mean, it's amazing how the sport moves on, and swimming just seems to continue to evolve. And but it hasn't just been about Leon Marchand this morning. Katie Ledecky, most decorated female swimmer in history, she's made that happen this week. Sarah Sjostrom, at 30 years of age, she's come back and won the 100 metres freestyle. There's so many stories to come out of the pool, and the best one, Tony, sorry, if we can just get into this a little bit, the Americans are all upset. They've only won 4 gold medals this week, and I had a debate this morning on BBC World Service with an American reporter who said, no, America are top of the medal table because they've got 21 medals. And I said, no, how we do medal tables is on gold, but they have changed how they're reporting the medal table to number of medals just so they can pitch themselves above Australia. I think it's fascinating. So America in trouble.
You were saying earlier on that they were complaining about a slow pool, but you said it's the same for everyone. I've been dying to ask you this because we've been talking here with Kath and Ali about how this is a fast track. There are the athletics. There are air pockets in it, pointing in one direction, giving everyone a spring. What would make a slow pool? I'm desperate to know the answer to this. What might make it slow? Water temperature?
So absolutely, Tony. There's a number of things that go into it. The size of the overflow channels where the water goes into. That's one thing. The depth of the pool. How warm the pool is, the currents that are in the pool, they all make a big difference. But let's go to the most obvious one. At these pools, they've got to be 2.5 metres deep now. That's the regulation. When this pool was built in 2017, they only allowed for 2.15 metres, 2.1 metres. So it's too shallow now for a competition pool, and usually it's 3 metres deep. Now, just to put that into context, we've had the slowest 100 metres breaststroke here since 2004. The guys are 2 seconds off what they were going. It definitely is a slow pool, but Léon Marchand missed that memo because he's broke a couple of Olympic records along the way.
That defies logic. So the shallower the pool, the slower it is.
Correct. Yeah, and it's all to do with the wave turbulence that you get off the bottom of the pool. Every single pool has currents, and to the point where they're saying lane 7 is faster than lane 2.
Sounds like this chat, Tony's going to need another bottle of Bordeaux.
I know. With a cheese board to accompany it. I can't wait till I get back in the pool at my gym in Burnley. I've got so much to tell them. I'll be boring them rigid. I'll be explaining everything to them. Steve, Alistair, what's the etiquette, by the way? You guys have been to a few of these. The Mexican waves just come past here at the Stade de France, and as journalists, we were too aloof to do it. Do we join in? I don't know.
I think that's outrageous. I would always join in on a Mexican wave. Yeah, otherwise it gets lost. If you don't do your section, it breaks down.
I think what I've seen before, Tony, is when the journalists don't join in because they're busy working, they sort of get booed by the rest of the stadium, and it goes a bit pantomime. I think that's okay.
I know. I'll wave my Panama the next time it hits me. Well, gents, we'll be back with you, I think, later, will we?
Yeah, so what's still to come this morning, Tony? I mean, I don't know in terms of the distance swimming that you do, Tony. We're into the men's 1,500 metres freestyle heats at the moment. So that is, we've gone from splash and dash to sort of proper endurance in the pool. You know, the longest race they swim. 30 lengths of the pool, 8 fastest across the 4 heats will get through to the final. Daniel Jervis swims for Great Britain in this. Daniel Whiffin is a great story at these games as well. I don't know if you were listening to that, Tony, a couple of nights ago. He's the 22-year-old from County Armagh who won the first ever medal, he was the first man ever to win a medal for Team Ireland in the pool, won a gold as well, so he's going for the double, trying to make it the 800 and 1500 double, and I think he could well do that. And then we're going to have some fun with the relay. Steve was talking about them, men's 4x100 metre medley relay and the women's as well, so that's all to come this morning.
Brilliant. A pleasure as always, chaps. I'll speak to you soon. Steve, you can buy the bottle.
No problem. Can we make it a bottle of Blue Nun?
Blue Nun Red. Swear by it. Cheers, guys. Steve Parry, Alistair Bruce-Ball at the pool. Right, time for the news here on 5 Live. Here's Bethan Holmes.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
North East Mayor Kim McGuinness has told 5 Live she's shocked and appalled by the violence in Sunderland last night. 8 people have been arrested while 3 police officers were injured. It's the latest unrest organised by the far right following the killing of 3 young girls in Southport on Monday. Relatives of those who died in 9/11 have welcomed the revoking of a plea deal agreed with the man accused of masterminding the attacks. The original deal had been criticised for sparing the alleged from the death penalty. Reports say a Hamas commander has been killed in an airstrike in the occupied West Bank. Palestinian media puts the total number of people killed at 5. It says the US is deploying more warships and fighter planes to the Middle East amid tensions rising there, with Iran vowing retaliation for the killing of Hamas's political leader in Tehran. And after more than 50 years, Aerosmith have retired from touring. It's because lead singer Steven Tyler has damage to his vocal cords and says he hasn't been able to recover despite medical intervention.
5 Live Breakfast.
With Rachel Burden and Rick Edwards.
I didn't want to just pass by the fact that you come into work in your slippers this morning.
Yeah. Just looked down and thought, I'm comfy today. What's going on? Oh, okay.
How do you come across Pommel Horse Guy? He basically had one job in the team event and he absolutely smashed it. It says from Sam, absolutely sick that America brought Pommel Horse Guy, whose sole purpose in life is to ball out on the pommel horse. He pommeled the heck out of that horse. Long live Pommel Horse Guy.
5 Live Breakfast.
Listen weekdays from 6
on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sports and the Olympic Games.
With Tony Livesey.
On 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being with us this morning. I'm at the Stade de France watching the athletics. Those listeners demanding I be taken off air because I'd hardly won a medal. John in Glastonbury says, hallelujah, Tony. Switch to weekend mornings has worked. The curse is lifted. Start of a gold rush today. We've won bronze in the women's 8 at the rowing, but we've won gold in the men's 8. Jess Eddy and Chris Jones talked us through it. Chris, are we close to the medal ceremony?
Yes, we will have that in the next few minutes. We've just seen the final race of the regatta, Tony. It was meant to be earlier in the morning, but it was delayed to 10:30. It's the men's single sculls. I mean, this is some competition. You're out on your own. You've got to go through heats, quarterfinals, semi-finals, final, and it's won by the big favourite, Oliver Seidler. Didn't happen for him in Tokyo, but the mighty German has won the single sculls by a distance, a resounding performance to cap off the week's racing. But yeah, as you say, a few minutes away from the medal ceremony for the men's 8.
Back with you for that then. So as I said, 2 medals for GB this morning. The women's 8 took bronze, but the men's 8, it was nip and tuck. They pipped the Dutch to gold. So here they are speaking afterwards to Matthew Pinsent and Kath Granger.
So we've been joined by some of the Olympic champion 8. Jacob Dawson, let's start with you. It is a lovely mix of emotions when you win an Olympic gold medal. How are you finding the journey right now?
Yeah, no, like you say, massive mix of emotions. You know, a bit of sadness that this is the end, but complete and total elation that we've capped off this project in the right way.
Charlie, we've been trying to sum up that race. Clinical, professional. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say 99.9% of it was perfect. We had a bit of a duff stroke on stroke 1, and that really scared us. But I think, you know, that when you have a bit of a duff stroke, it almost fires you up to 120%. And we shot out of the stars like a rocket, and then just never looked back.
Harry, was that just the best 6 minutes of your life?
Yeah, well, it was a hell of a ride back at the boat, back at the end of the boat. Yeah, like we knew the start would be close. The American guys were like giving it quite a lot of shouting on the start line, which we were ready for. We knew exactly what they were going to do, and we just executed it perfectly. Like that was a bit of a sprint to the death, and we just took it by the scruff of the neck, and you can't really ask for much more. These guys, they did it perfectly, and I'm really, really proud of them. I'm trying to not cry, but yeah, that was epic.
And how did it feel like a long week? Because we say obviously when you win the heat and progress through it, you're watching everyone else come and go. How did it feel waiting for this moment?
Yeah, it's a long wait. We're sort of last to go down the track, so just seeing everyone else get their medals, like you got to learn from it, and you say, look, lessons we can learn, things that they did really well, and that inspires. But there was a lot of time where we just wanted to get racing. But in Tokyo, I was one of the first to race, and we didn't go as well as we wanted to. And I spent the whole week afterwards wishing I could have that moment before the race back, where I could get to do it again. And as a group, we've managed to do that. We've stuck together. We've worked so hard over this period. We've really bought into Stevie, and yeah.
Do you want to tell us about the first stroke?
Yeah, I think I should have done that in an international ladies race before. I didn't quite get my blade in on the second one, but it doesn't matter because the guys behind me were doing enough. Yeah, and I kind of did it, and I was like, I'm not mucking up now. I've got to keep going. So no, it was just awesome.
Brilliant to listen to that. I don't think he'll be allowed to forget that duff stroke in a hurry. Jess Eddy, Chris Jones, we're waiting for the medal ceremony. Interesting there, Jess, just as an outsider, listening to the Americans doing a bit of sledging, it sounds like, at the start of that race.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. The start of the 8th race is normally quite noisy, and you have quite a few people might be slapping their legs or pumping their chest a little bit, but sometimes you have a few whoops and a bit of like, let's go USA. As Brits, we kind of sit there thinking, oh dear, but yeah, it can be off-putting.
That my ears pricked up with that as well, Tony. I didn't know if that was them self-motivating, or a little bit of trash talk goes on as well, does it?
Sometimes it does, and actually I think we're not used to that. we kind of say it's a bit unsportsmanlike to start shouting. They might be shouting at themselves. And
I beg your pardon?
Yeah.
I can imagine the British reaction.
Excuse me.
The Americans just getting their medals now then.
Yeah, I think we thought they were going to be the big threats, to be honest. They don't look super happy, but you've got to put this in context. The American men have not been anywhere, really, in world rowing for about 20 years, so they're coming away from this regatta. Gold in their men's 4, bronze in their men's 8. It's a success for them.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing the national anthem very shortly indeed. So we've mentioned that the rowing success is coming to an end. For some guys in that boat, Jess, I don't know, I was just trying to listen across to that interview, I don't know the details. Is that their career done now?
You know what? In rowing, we're an endurance event, so actually you can keep going into your 30s. For some of these guys, they're in their late 20s, early 30s. They could, if they want to, keep going to LA. It's
quite funny, Tony. We were just seeing a few social media posts from some athletes who have commented over the last few days. Can the media stop asking us where we're going to be in 4 years' time? And I can understand. Well, I can understand why they think that, but also from our point of view, your mind naturally drifts. Oh, it's for the ones who haven't performed so well. Can you go back and remedy that and get your medal you're craving? Or for the ones who have performed, can they go and double up and really etch their way into Olympic greatness? That's a kind of understandable conversation, isn't it, Jess? Even if competitors kind of irk at it a bit.
Yeah, I don't really care if anyone asks me, to be honest. I think it's nice people are interested in us every 4 years. So, yeah, go away and ask them. But right now they get to enjoy this moment in Tokyo. The Dutch are pleased with that silver medal screaming on the podium.
Yeah, and that's what's been so striking all week. There's kind of a different bronze, a different silver, and a different gold, depending on who you are. You've got the... let's take Matilda Hodgkins-Byrne and Becky Wild winning a bronze out of nowhere. That was a great bronze, a brilliant bronze. And then you have other teams who look disappointed with silver. And this is an example of the Dutch who think, yeah, that's pretty awesome, given who they were coming up against.
It's a real mix of emotions depending on what your expectations were.
How did you feel with yours?
We couldn't have gone any faster, I don't think. We won silver in Rio.
There, yeah.
I got squeezed by Polly Swan, who sat behind me, and she said, if they'd handed us the gold medal now, I wouldn't feel any different.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, we didn't win.
Is that true?
I never know. I was crying looking up at Christ Redeemer watching the British flag being raised, so that moment for me, unreal.
Well, the Dutch have got their silver medals, the USA have got their bronze medal, and now, I mean, these are the moments that these athletes will never, ever forget. And even though this is such a prestigious event, the 8, sometimes the names get lost because there are so many of them. So let's just outline who's done what here. At bow, Sholto Carnegie, Rory Gibbs, Morgan Boulding, the debutant, Jacob Dawson, who won a bronze in 2021 in Tokyo, but back to go not one but 2 better and stand in the middle of the podium. Charlie Elwes likewise back again to add to his bronze with gold. Tom Digby on Olympic debut, James Rudkin, who was one of those returners as well, and Tom Ford, who's joined his sister Emily, who got a bronze in the women's 8 half an hour ago or so. What a morning for the Ford family. Bronze for Emily, and at stroke Tom Ford wins gold, and now they're just getting their medals. And Harry Brightmore, the Cox, who at the end, as Tony joked, he's the one who had all the energy, and he was looking and pointing at his men and going, look what you've achieved. And now the Great Britain team will step forward and put their arms in the air. They've got their energy back now.
That is a cheer, isn't it? I think it's the best cheer we've heard all week. These guys, Sholto Carnegie is getting his medal now, came 4th in that heartbreaking race in Tokyo in the men's 4. Same with Rory Gibbs, who's going to be up next.
Oh, and that's so cool. Carnegie was looking at his medal, holding it and shaking it as if to say, oh, that's years. That's what we spoke about incessantly at the Olympics. That is years of training. That is a lifetime ambition coming out in one moment.
These are the moments they live for. This is what you think about in those hard winter months, the grind, the competition to get into that boat when you're maybe there or thereabouts, not making the team. Morgan Boulding, I should mention, he went to that final Olympic qualifying regatta before Tokyo, didn't qualify. Heartbreaking for him. there's so many stories of redemption, aren't there, here? And I'm just over the moon that these guys have gone out and done the business.
Yeah, an 8th medal of the Games for GB, and they've saved perhaps the best to last. The women's squad were an outstanding win that was. Likewise, the women's lightweight double, and then the men's 8 winning Olympic gold. They're all getting their medals. They're getting their prizes. Sholto Carnegie, Rory Gibbs, Morgan Boulding, Jacob Dawson, Charlie Elwes, Tom Digby, James Rudkin, Tom Ford and Harry Brightmore. And that is going to be an image for the ages that will be printed out, no doubt, around GB headquarters of Cox Harry Brightmore standing on the boat. He could get to his feet. He had the energy left. The others simply couldn't move.
Yeah, so our National Training Centre at Caversham, actually where we all sit in the crew room and have our recovery, our breakfast, our lunch, there's a wall of champions. So you get your name on the wall when you get an Olympic medal, and you get a small little picture of yourselves. These guys have stared at that for 4 years, and now they know that that's going to go on the wall there for all the juniors to see. Anyone that comes through that building, you're cemented there in our National Training Centre.
And the turnaround from Tokyo, we can't say it enough. 1 silver and 1 bronze. And now GB have gone from 2 medals to 8. It's their best medal tally for an overseas games. It was 9 in 2012, so it's not quite those heady heights, but it's not far off. And as GB just step forward in the middle of the podium, they will now sing the national anthem. Well, just quite simply, that is what it's all about.
That's what they dream about. That's the moment they want, and that's the moment they're going to remember for the rest of their lives.
There you go, Tony, the GB8.
Brilliant.
What a performance. And they end this brilliant regatta, both in general with the quality of racing we've seen across all the nations, but from a GB point of view, those 8 medals and ending with gold for the men's 8.
There were so many of them singing the national anthem. It was like watching a male voice choir.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would sound like that when you're next to them, but they put some guts into that, didn't they?
Yeah, I get it. Just a final one, Jess, on that. How great, because I have the TV pictures with me, how they jump forward, each held the other's hands in the air. They are proper excited to win that. It was. I mean, they should be as well, gold. But you know what I mean? Sometimes you can be a little bit phlegmatic, too cool for school, but they're loving every minute of that.
It's the ultimate team sport. They've got to row together, they've got to take every single stroke in complete synchronisation. They've had to take all the strokes on the water and training together. They've been through a lot together. They live in each other's pockets. So to actually go and execute and do that here on the biggest stage possible, it can all come out now, can't it? Overjoyed.
What a great morning you've delivered, you two. Thanks so much. Cheers, Chris. Thanks Jess. Brilliant. Goosebump time hearing the national anthem. Fantastic. So Britain take gold then in the men's 8, bronze in the women's 8. Successful rowing morning. We are. I think we're back. Are we back here in the athletics now? We've got. Yes, I'm talking to myself.
I can see you glancing left, Tony, because Mondo Duplantis is still sitting in the same spot that we looked at him what seems like 3 days ago, because this men's pole vault qualifying has been going for nearly 2 hours, so 3 hours the guys have been out there. We saw Mondo with his 1 vault, the greatest ever, go over 5 metres and 60, which very impressed you greatly. We have 22 men over at 5 metres and 60. So the automatic qualifying is 5 metres and 80, and we like to take 12 athletes into the final. So it looks like 580 will be needed. So it looks like the greatest of all time will have to vault again as they continue with the great support with nearly 80,000 here in the Stade de France.
I'm looking forward to seeing him in action again, talking of too cool for school. Right, what have we got coming up ahead of us now in front of us? We've got the men's 100 metres first round, Alison.
Yeah, blink and you miss them. This is where we will start to see, I guess, the favourites. And obviously we all look forward to seeing the character that is Noah Lyles. You'll just hear the big cheer. That is the Frenchman gone clear there. I mean, that was an impressive... Look at him, he's G'ing up this stadium. That was a fantastic clearance there from the Frenchman. He's punching the air as he lands back onto the bed.
It's Calais of France, Al, his third attempt at 5 metres and 70. So the roar was a little bit louder for the Frenchman, staying in the hunt for a final place in that pole vault. That was wild, right?
With an automatic qualifier of 580, there's a good chance that if you don't get 12 men over that 580 bar, they just go to the top 12. So, I mean, there's an awful lot of guys. He's ninth clear in that particular group over 570. But yeah, I mean, talk about saving it for your last vault. That was really impressive.
Yeah, and the noise as well. We should just say this is the largest sporting arena in France, and they can pack 70,000 into an athletics meet. We're not far off full now, I would say. It's pretty rammed in here now.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it? I mean, I said yesterday it was shades of London 2012, where we used to come in for the morning sessions, which we're not used to. I mean, I remember doing the World Champs in '97 in the amazing Athens Stadium, and you know, you literally could hear. You heard the gun go like this. And then you literally just heard the footsteps of everyone else in the heat, because there was hardly anyone in the stadium. You get used to that in the morning, but this is really impressive.
Yeah, so Kath, you're going to take us through the 100 metres first round. Who've we got in action in front of us now?
Yeah, on the big screens here at the Stade de France, pointing with one finger, waving and a big smile, Jeremiah Azou. The flying Welshman goes in heat number 1. He'll start in lane number 4 in his first Olympic Games. There are 8 heats in total. The first 3 in each of these heats, and then the next 3 fastest will advance to the semi-finals tomorrow night. And then the final is 90 minutes after the semi-final. The final event tomorrow at 10 to 10 Paris time, we will crown the Olympic men's 100-metre champion. Azou then goes in lane number 4, but lining up against him is Kashane Thompson of Jamaica in 5. He is the fastest man in the world with 9.77 seconds. The familiar black, green and gold of Jamaica, hands on his hips, pacing up and down the world leader. And also in this one, Benjamin Asamati of Ghana starts in lane number 6. They're the 3 big players in heat number 1 of the men's 100 metres. Later today, we have the semi-finals and the finals of the women's 100 metres. But first into his blocks, as the starter calls them forward, is Azou of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. He's down on the newly laid purple track here and looking to get himself in a top 3 position to automatically qualify for the semi-finals tomorrow. A lot shorter in stature than Kashane Thompson, the Jamaican alongside him. Thompson potentially could upset the world champion Noah Lyles, who comes in a later heat. Mondo Duplantis jogging up and down to the sprinter's left, getting ready for potentially another pole vault attempt. But the fast boys are ready.
Oh, I think that might have been Jeremiah.
I have a horrible feeling that in our first heat of 8, with our first of 3 British athletes, Jeremiah Azou could be in trouble here. The reaction time, Tony, for a sprinter cannot be less than 0.1 second. They cannot register anything below that, or it triggers off something on the starting blocks that tells the starter.
Look.
And it looks like Jeremiah Azou on our systems has clocked a 0.073 reaction time.
He was definitely out.
And in athletics, it's 1 and you're out. Multi-eventers get 2 chances.
No, I think that's Jeremiah. No, I'm pretty certain that's Jeremiah. He's waiting now for the official. He's looking up at the screen. He knows. Kashane Thompson's hoping it's not him.
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm sure when I was younger you used to get a warning, but was that not in the 100 metres then? Or it was?
Yeah. No, you used to have. I mean, they've changed it over the years. And actually, funnily enough, in this stadium, they're just announcing now Jeremiah's.
That's brutal.
He's got the red card from the official who stands in front of them in the sunshine. And what Jeremiah Azou is now doing is he's going to his left to see the data. If you're going to disqualify me, prove it to me. He'll be shown that he clocked 0.073 seconds. He's on the big screens. He's having a discussion and he's now walking back onto the track. It looks like he's accepted the fact that he did a false start. And that is desperately disappointing.
No,
but
he's going to try and run under protest.
You are allowed to run under protest, which means a time can potentially be clocked for Jeremiah Azou, and then national governing bodies have a short period of time to put a protest in. If that protest is successful, he still has a statistic that can move forward. But the chances are, with a clocking like that under the legal limit, it won't be successful.
Can you just explain the legal limit? Because it was a quick start, but did he go before the gun or too quick after it?
Yeah, and I mean, it's set at 0.100. If you go under that, your reaction time, and the reaction time is measured on the sensors on the blocks. He's still now arguing that he wants to run under protest, but I think that rule, they've tried to change it. Do you remember we were chatting at the British Championships, and I think the rule is that, you know, they kind of they didn't want this delay, so they used to say to the athletes you could run under protest, but I think they're trying to change it, Kath, and I think that the officials now are absolutely adamant he isn't going to run. But funnily enough, back in 2003 in the World Championships in the stadium, this is where the false start rule really started we needed to do something. John Drummond of from America laid on the track saying, I did not move. And honestly, we were here for like half an hour. It was just like, just get on. Kath's just showing me any athlete allowed to run under protest in a race will be shown a red and a white card. I mean, they're shown in the red card, so either the officials don't know the rules, he knows the rules, he's saying, I want to run under protest.
Yeah.
But we've got DQ next to his name up on the big screen. This isn't good on the likes of Kashane Thompson and all of the other athletes in the field, because this is what it's meant to prevent. It's just like, let the guy run under protest. But I think what they're saying is it's so clear, the facts are so clear. There was no sound in the stadium. That's it now. He's been removed from the arena.
Oh, it's hard to watch. I'm finding that really difficult to watch his face.
Yeah, he's waving to the crowd, appreciating the support. But he has left and he's walking down the side of the 100-metre track where he was due to make his Olympic debut. Jeremiah Ezu, the British athlete, disqualified out of heat number 1. We go again. The athletes have waited patiently. Kashane Thompson in lane number 5, the world leader from Jamaica, will be looking to book one of those 3 automatic qualifying spots, but now we have another issue because the athletes have been told to stand up. This is the first heat of 8, Tony. Settle yourself in.
Am I finished at 1? No, 12 English. Look, yeah.
And look, this is big questions over Kashane Thompson. Not many of us have seen him yet at this sort of level. He's 23, he's very inexperienced.
And Kashane Thompson has just been shown a green card by the official. It can be anything. It could mean just get a bit quicker into the blocks, please, mate. We need to get going. He could be delaying the start. It means he's been warned but not removed. There's lots of coloured cards in track.
I'd be going through my little book going, what's that card mean?
Jeremiah Ezu is still standing on the side of the track, parallel with the start, but he's not taking part. We try again for the 3rd time. Let's go, folks. The first heat of the men's 100 metres at the Olympic Games in Paris. All eyes on the world leader, Thompson, in lane number 5. First 3 guaranteed a place in the semi-finals tomorrow. We are away, and Thompson is out wonderfully well. 9.77 seconds this year. The yellow vest of Jamaica. Thompson looks to his right. He shuts down 9.99 seconds. That was a performance of a world leader. Nicely done after the disruption.
Yeah, I mean, very, very impressive. And I think that's it. It's keeping his head. First time I've actually been able to see him in real life. World leaders, Kath mentioned this year, and we really are just licking our lips thinking about him up against the likes of Noah Lyles. This 23-year-old, he's got a lot of hopes on his shoulders, because Jamaica, ever since the exit of Usain Bolt, they have not had a global title. It's been held by the USA and Italy, and that hurts a sprint nation.
Thompson easy, 10 seconds exactly, automatically through. Jeremiah Ezu is right in front of our commentary position by the finish line, looking up at the screen, thinking, what could have been? He's been escorted by an official. He's been applauded, Tony, by the fans with a view of sympathy, of course. No athlete comes to Olympic Games to get disqualified. That's in nobody's plans. But what will be interesting is how this plays out now, because they haven't let him run. He has no time registered. But maybe, as Alison said, it was so clearly under that legal limit, he reacted too soon to the gun in answer to your question.
That bodes well to the fact that he's the lead-off guy in the relay as well, doesn't it?
What? I mean, judging by his previous times, would he have been in with a shout?
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. Yeah, 9.97. He's the 14th guy ever in Great Britain to break 10 seconds. He's now the 9th quickest with his 9.97. Coached now by Marcus Aureli in Italy, trains with Daryl Neater and Amy Hunt. Yeah, I mean, that's a big blow for him. This is an opportunity now to wait another 4 years till his individual. I mean, he is going to come out in the relay, without a doubt. He's a real integral part of the relay. He's known for his quick starts. Maybe just a little bit too quick this morning.
He's now having to do TV interviews down there. A penny for his thoughts.
I mean, I bet you we can predict that he'll say there was noise down at the start.
Can we argue against that? Listen to the roar. Back at home, Amarati of France is going for his 3rd attempt at 5.70 in the pole vault qualifying. The sprinters are at that really busy end of the stadium, Tony, with 80,000 fans. But you can't go before the gun. You can't react that quickly. And unfortunately, hopefully we'll hear at some point what Jeremiah Razou has to say. But he's still throwing his arms around. He's talking to American television. So we will keep you updated. Still 2 more Brits to come, though, in the men's 100-metre heats. Louis Hinchliffe goes in heat number 3. And then the British record holder Zarnell Hughes lines up in heat number 8. But nicely done by the world leader. Eventually, the Jamaican crossed the line, looking supreme.
He's a big unit, isn't he, that fella?
I like that. He's a big unit.
Well, he is. He dwarfs the others. Last word on Razou. That's it. There's no comeback. He can't appeal. There's nothing now. That's it. Gone. Well, very, very difficult to watch that. Absolutely heartbreaking for him. Right, more 100 metres action to come here in the stadium over the next few moments. We're going to break for the news, though, on 5 Live with Bethan Holmes.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says those attacking police in riots would pay the price. It's after beer cans and bricks were thrown at officers, injuring 3 of them in Sunderland last night. The disorder was organised by the far right, and it's the 3rd night in a row there's been violence in England. 8 people have been arrested, and there's fears of more riots this weekend. BBC Children in Need says it's removed from its platforms a video featuring the 17-year-old suspected of carrying out the fatal stabbings in Southport on Monday. The statement comes after the Daily Mail reported Axel Rudakabana fronted a campaign for the charity dressed as Doctor Who when he was 11 6 years ago. Families of people killed in 9/11 have welcomed the US government's decision to revoke a plea deal agreed with the man accused of masterminding the attacks. Under the deal, which has been criticised, it was agreed they wouldn't face the death penalty. And the Ukrainian military says it's targeted Russian oil depots and fuel storage facilities in overnight attacks. Among the targets was an airbase Moscow uses in its war on Ukraine.
On BBC iPlayer.
I'm Paddy the Baddy Pimler.
I'm Meatball Molly McCann.
We're 2 mates from Liverpool, currently fighting in the UFC.
Real fighters.
You don't really get a much more brutal sport than MMA.
And their real lives.
My life's not all about just training and fighting. I think I'm an entrepreneur. How'd you say that?
Paddy and Molly show no mercy.
The next 6 months are going to be the biggest fights of our lives, and that's a fact.
Watch on BBC iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Tony Livesey.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Yes, welcome back to the Stade de France. We're certainly seeing the highs and lows of top-class world sport this morning here on 5 Live. Jeremiah Razou disqualified just a few moments ago before he set 1 foot. Well, he did set 1 foot, but he was illegal in 100 metres. However, from that to a real high, Olympic rowing's session at the Olympics has ended with another gold for Great Britain.
They can't lose it from here, can they? The Netherlands trying to rally, but it's GB who win the men's 8. A brilliant end to the week for the GB rowers.
Yeah, gold for men. There was bronze for the women's 8 as well. That takes GB's rowing medal tally to 8. It's been a good start as well in the team dressage for Team GB. Sonia McLaughlin.
Becky Moody and Jaeger Bomb rising to the occasion with a consistent and accomplished dressage test. It's put Britain into gold medal position after the first of 3 riders, Carl Hester and Fame, next at just after midday.
In cycling, the men's time trials underway. Conor McNamara's watching that.
It's the road race, and a breakaway group of 4 riders have built up a 7-minute 15 seconds lead ahead of the peloton. Back in that main group, all 4 Team GB riders, including Tom Pidcock, who's already won gold on his mountain bike here in Paris. There's still a long way to go, the best part of 230 kilometres of this race remaining.
We've already heard the women's hockey team. They lost 3-0 to Argentina and could face the all-conquering Dutch in the quarterfinals, which would be a little bit grim. However, keep listening. Anything could happen. That fixture could change as the afternoon goes along, Sarah Orchard assured us. So we're going to bring you every Team GB medal live here on 5 Live. You can follow everything on the BBC Sport website and watch the best of the action on BBC One and the iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Tony Livesey.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Well, we've got round one of the men's 100 metres continuing here at the Stade de France. That depressing moment a few moments ago, Jeremiah Azu disqualified, just started too quickly. Louis Hinchliffe is in the next heat. He's a new name to most of us. He announced himself to British crowds at the UK Championships last month, winning the British 100 metre title. He's studying at, bear with me, he's studying at the University of Houston. I think we can hear from him.
The first conversation we had was literally about this, like making that team. So he had belief in me, so I just had to believe in myself, work hard, and yeah, we got it done.
Let me ask about Carl Lewis, your coach. What is your relationship with him like then?
He's a coach-athlete relationship, but it's also like a friendly relationship. He's funny, like he'll make jokes and he'll be hard, like he'll say when something's wrong or out of line. So it kind of keeps me on the right track, and yeah, it's kind of like that.
And how are you coping with now suddenly almost out of nowhere being the name on everyone's lips?
Kind of just staying humble. My dad always told me to stay humble, don't get too ahead of myself. So yeah, I'm just trying to stay the same person I was, staying true to myself, and yeah.
And just lastly, walking out there in the stadium in Paris, wearing that Team GB kit, how do you think you'll feel personally?
I feel at first I'll feel kind of like a bit surprised, like kind of can't believe I got there, but I gotta switch on, focus on my race, so can't get like too starstruck. Just got to treat it as treat every race the same.
Louis Hinchliffe there talking about his coach, who's rather special, the 9-time Olympic gold medalist Carl Lewis, Kath Merry, Alison Kirbishley alongside me. We've got to kind of put a zoo to the back of our minds now. Hinchliffe, what are our hopes for him in his heat?
I'm excited, Ali. You
raw.
Excited?
I am. I mean, he's really, really raw. We didn't hear much of him until this year. He won the NCAA's, the first European ever to win the NCAA's 100 metre title. And when you look at the sort of names that have gone before him and taken that title, Andre de Grasse, there's been Olympic champions after. So we can really start to get excited because I talk about him being raw. He's small, very stocky, not the prettiest of 100 metres 100 metre sprinters. I don't mean facially, I mean it's just his style. He just explodes out the blocks and just works his way up. And I think that's why Carl Lewis said he wanted to coach him, because he could see the potential in this guy. And you made a great comparison to Marchand and the way that Marchand went to Phelps's coach, because he looked out, right, where's the best coach? And he moved over to America. That's exactly what Hinchliffe did.
On Carl Lewis, this is a novice's question again. I mean, we know his pedigree as an athlete. What's his pedigree as a coach?
Well, he's a collegiate coach in America, and many good athletes do that. They go and attach themselves to. He made headlines when he turned up at our I think it was the Bucks, the British University's cross country in Liverpool in the winter. This just gone, because they come out and they try and tout athletes. They try and and of course, if you're going to bring anyone, you want to bring Carl Lewis over. Just being introduced to the crowd, Kath.
He is. He looks a little bit nervous, Tony, and that's understandable. He'll start in this heat in lane number 3. Yeah, Carl Lewis, he's not a bad coach to call upon, is he? Dropped him a line, said, hey, can I come over and can you coach me? Carl checked him out and he said, come over, my friend. And now he's a sub-10 second runner. And Noah Lyles is being shined, retiring as usual. The American in lane number 6. Took bronze in the 200 metres in Tokyo, the American. 3 times world champion over the 200 metres, the world 100 metre champion, lapping up the applause from everybody here in Stade de France. His hair's been freshly plaited, and he'll line up in heat number 3 against Louis Hinchliffe. Also, Owen Anser of Germany in this one is a sub-10 second runner as well. But this is a big moment for the young Briton, born in 2002, 9.95 seconds at his best, and as Alison mentioned, the shortest in this lineup in terms of stature, but he has the best flying mullet of these Olympics so far. Such is the hairstyle that he's very proud of, but he's got to go up against Noah Lyles here, who is after the 100-metre Olympic crown. We've seen Kashane Thompson, the Jamaican world leader, look very, very comfortable in heat number 1. What has the colourful American got? The 27-year-old settles in his blocks. Louis Hinchcliffe in lane number 3. The biggest race of his life against the world champion in the heat of the Olympic Games in Paris. Can he finish in the top 3, the British start, to automatically go through to those semi-finals tomorrow night? Hinchcliffe looks up, takes one final look down the purple track. They settle into their blocks. Hinchcliffe out reasonably well. He's got a bit of work to do. He's down in 4th or 5th at the moment. Noah Lyles has got a bit of work to do as well. But here comes Louis Hinchcliffe. Shut the back door. Oh my days, Tony. He's just won the heat, beat Noah Lyles around 9.97 seconds. Oh my days.
And all of that was done in the last 20 metres. As you said, he didn't have the greatest of starts, but look at him now. He's just high-fiving Noah Lyles, 9.98. And that is how you walk away from your first experience in a senior vest. That is how you do it, Louis Hinchcliffe.
He's delighted there, isn't he? Absolutely. Is that his official nickname, the Flying Mullet? Because that's some hairdo he's got.
Kath gave him that at the trials. Do you know, I met his family afterwards. They were going absolutely wild when he won the British Championships. And his brother said, we really need to sort that hairdo out. And he said he got it done at college. And he said, I quite like it, so I'm not going to change it now. And I think when you're running like that, look at watching the replay. We're watching the replay now. And he needed that. He was desperate to get to that line first.
Let's not get too excited, because Noah Lyles will have more in the tank as the world 100-metre champion and potentially the pre-event Olympic gold medal favourite. But Louis Hinchcliffe there has just absolutely smashed it out the park, Tony. I cannot describe to you how impressive that was. He didn't start particularly well. His back end, as we say in sprinting, his back end from 60 metres onwards is phenomenal, and he ate the ground up, the shortest in the field, but in that third heat here in Paris, the quickest. Wow, that was impressive.
I sense your shot. Did we shut the front door or the back door? Which one did we shut there?
Let's just shut them all.
We shut them all.
He shut them all.
And the windows.
I tell you what, this is, do you know what? He's so versatile as well, Tony. He was a very, very good golfer all the way through his schooling career. And it was the Fitzpatricks. He played with Alex and Matt, and then he said to me, when he realised how good they were, he realised he wasn't as good as them, so he started concentrating on sprinting. But his handicap was 1 when he was coming through.
Talented kid.
Yeah, dad from Rotherham, grew up in Sheffield, and
hence the mullet. Now that explains everything. That explains everything. So what I love about this, again, you know, you two are steeped in all this. I'm not, but you see some names will break through. This is the moment when he starts to break through to the wider British public.
Listen, Louis Hinchcliffe is the equivalent of Phoebe Gill in the women's 800 metres, and we're talking about two names that people who aren't steeped in athletics day in and day out, like me and Alison and others, will go, well, I don't know who you're talking about, Kath. Who are you talking about, Alison? But such is the breakthrough that they have had, has been phenomenal. I can't describe to you how exciting this is, Tony, because we expect big things from Noah, from Zarnell Hughes, and who's still to come. But when you get a new name like this in sport, who's just done that with no fear, that was phenomenal.
And look, you know, my heart is always with the 400, but the middle distance, that's where I absolutely love it. But without a doubt, when you've got a Brit running in the men's 100 and running well, you know, it does cut through. It cuts through to fans that will be tuning in. And because he's a character, you look at him, he's very, very quiet. I mean, you heard there, and he's not a brash Noah Lyles. I don't think he ever will be. But I just think his confidence he'll take so much from that run there this morning, to be able to hold your own, come out here, line up against Noah Lyles in front of a stadium of 75,000 people. Really, really impressed.
Yeah, that Carl Lewis might know a thing or two, who knows?
So it seems.
Right, that was really impressive to see in the flesh. I realise I'm very privileged to be on the finish line here. Let's go to the swimming now. Alistair Bruce-Ball and Steve Parry. The men's 1500 metres heats are underway, Ali.
Yes, we are watching the third of them. We are watching the metronomic, hypnotic freestyle stroke of Daniel Whiffen, the 22-year-old from Ireland. Quite a story at these games. He's already won the men's 800 metres freestyle title. He's got a couple of body lengths lead here, with just over 4 lengths to go in his heat of the 1500 metres freestyle. His closest challenger at the moment is Gregorio Paltrinieri, who took bronze in the 800. We've also got a French swimmer here, actually, Steve, in this race over in Lay 1, Damien Joly, who's having a very good swim, which has got the home fans sort of up and excited. Great Britain's Daniel Jervis swimming in this race, though, well off the pace and right at the back of the field.
Yeah, unfortunate for Jervis, but this is just beautiful from Whiffen here. He's 5 metres ahead of multiple world champion from Italy, Paltrinieri, and he just looks so smooth. Paltrinieri looks like he's really digging deep. He's jerking all over the place, but Whiffen just so smooth. You know, coming into the meet, if you'd said that Whiffen could win the 800 and the 1500, that would be a very, very long bet, but it's looking more likely all the time.
He did that double at the World Championships in Doha. He's got 2.5 lengths to go here. This is all about just recording the time, getting yourself in the final.
Kelly
4 heats in this event, and it is the 8 fastest swimmers who go through. So the French fans obviously interested in Damien Joly, who's kicking hard and thrashing his way down lane 1. So smooth, Daniel Whiffen at the turn. There's the bell. He's got 2 lengths to go. Steve, we saw his family outside when we walked in. His brother, who apparently is also an incredibly talented swimmer, is the spitting image of Daniel Whiffen as well. They must be loving watching him at this game.
Yeah, they look like twins, don't they, him and his brother, but they're not. And Dan Whiffen said the only person that could ever have a chance of beating me is his brother, which is a very, very, very scary prospect. But this is really quick, this, Ali. You know, and he looks so smooth. I think he could actually challenge for the world record tomorrow night, Whiffen.
Wow. Well, we'll certainly be here for that, bringing you commentary of it. This is all about qualification. 40 metres to go. Big roar for all the swimmers. Massive swim this, 30 lengths. Lungs will be bursting, arms and legs aching, but Daniel Whiffen, smooth as silk, bringing it home. 15 metres to go. Damien Joly, the Frenchman, giving it everything. He's in a race for third in this heat with the Australian Sam Short. 5 metres to go for Whiffen. Cruises in to touch and finish. Paltrinieri, the Italian, finishes second. Then it's Short. Then it's Joly for France in fourth. And Daniel Jervis of Great Britain still has about 25 metres to go. Time then for Whiffen there. Steve, what did we finish up with? 14 minutes 40.34.
So let's get that into perspective. That's only 9 seconds off the world record. And quite frankly, he looks like he's just been out for a Sunday morning swim. He's not even breathing that heavily, Whiffen. He's giving it the nod. He's oozing confidence at the moment.
Daniel Jervis finishes last in the heat, 15 minutes 3.75. It is the 8 fastest who make it through to the final, and there's one more heat still to come. But that's going to be quite a story, Tony. Daniel Whiffen already has 1 gold medal in the bag. If he leaves Paris with 2 gold medals, considering a swimmer, a male swimmer for Team Ireland, has never even medalled before this Olympics. And I think actually he's only the 11th man for Team Ireland to win an individual gold medal. He is having some games, and he's got to be favourite. He's got to be favourite for the men's 1500 metres freestyle in the final when it comes. And looking at him now, Steve, I mean, just marches off.
Yeah, it's so casual, and it's so exciting as well. That swim from him in the heat of the 1500 is 15 seconds faster than any Brit has ever been in that event. And he just looked totally in control, technically superb, but he wasn't putting in all that much effort in my book.
Just seen him march off there, Tony. Looks totally unflustered, didn't even look out of breath. I know he will be. That is an enormous physical effort that takes, and that is a great swim from Daniel Whiffen. He's quite something.
Yeah, I mean, when me and Steve are having that bottle of Bordeaux, feel free to join us, Ali. We will discuss the size of people's lungs, the size of swimmers' lungs. Are they bigger than cyclists? I don't know. Anyway, that discussion. I was just told. drive listeners are fed up with this anecdote, but I went for a checkup once and the doctor said I had massive lungs, so I know where it's all coming from. That's hence my swimming prowess. Right, I said there's no conversation to be had about the size of my lungs, isn't there? Right, cheers, Steve.
Cheers, Al.
Cheers, Ali. Goodbye.
Bye, Tony.
Let's talk dressage now. It's the team final, the end of the first group of riders. Britain are in gold medal position. Brilliant, thanks to a fine performance from Becky Moody and Jägerbomb. She spoke afterwards to Rishi Prasad.
Becky, would it be fair to say that after a slow start, you and Jägerbomb sprung into life with the most wonderful test?
Yeah, do you know what? He was incredible. He was a little bit hot when we first came in, so we had to take it a little bit quiet, but he loved it. You know, he's just amazing. I don't know what else to say at the moment.
Well, he was amazing. You were amazing. So many wonderful movements through the 36 tests. But the thing that really struck me was when you came out of the ring and then you looked back at the scoreboard and saw your score, your reaction after that was something else.
Yeah, I mean, you dream of coming to a games and getting a personal best, so that was amazing. Yeah.
When you saw that score and you heard the cheer of the crowd, what was that like?
The crowd are incredible, and I think, you know, we've got a real strong British contingent over here, which is just amazing. So yeah, I mean, the horse absolutely lapped it up. He was loving it. Yeah.
It's been the most extraordinary thing. I mean, 2 weeks ago, you couldn't possibly have dreamed that this was going to be happening.
No, 2 weeks ago, I was expecting to come for a lovely 10-day holiday in France and be inspired and learn and go home better. And then, you know, having to do this, there has definitely been quite a lot of nausea along the way. But yeah, it's been an amazing experience with an incredible team around me. They've all been fantastic, and as I say, my horse is just amazing.
Carl and Lottie still to come. What do you do between now and the next two rides?
Well, now I'm done. I can chill out. It's great. So yeah, they have to go through what I've just been through, and you know, it's going to be hard, isn't it? Because the pressure's on, but they are both incredibly cool customers. Lottie is just something else. And, you know, she's used to that anchor position and really having to do what she can. So, yeah, I have complete confidence in both of them.
Rishi Prasad doing the honours there with that interview. Sonia McLaughlin joins us, as does Tina Cook, rejoins us. Sonia, we said she'd done well. Explain to us what she's done well at then.
Well, basically, with every rider that goes through, we're now on to the second group of 10, Tony. 30 riders in all, 10 teams, 3 from each team. The overall score counts. The higher the score, you get the gold medal, basically. And we're now on the 14th rider in the arena, who is a competitor from France. And Becky Moody's score has yet to be beaten. Such is the standard that she has set here. So that puts that into some kind of context. So Britain are still sitting in gold medal position, but the big guns are still to come from both Denmark and Germany. So we have to put that into context. But as Becky was saying herself, Carl Hester and Lottie Fry are no slouches themselves. Carl's got 3 Olympic gold medals, and Lottie Fry is the reigning world champion in the Grand Prix special on this incredible stallion that she has, Glamourdale. So Great Britain are in a very good position. I want to explain the dressage arena to you.
Do.
Yes. So basically, I want you to imagine a football pitch. So it's rectangular. Here it's 60 metres by 20. It's around the outside, you have sort of to ankle level, calf level, sort of little white picket fence all the way around. And then just imagine it's a football pitch, and your goal mouth away to the right, so where the goalkeeper would stand, that is marker A, where the horses enter, and your goal mouth on the opposite side, in the short side, where the opposing goalkeeper would stand, is marker C. And the horses canter up the centre line, stop in the middle on an imaginary mark called X, and then their test unfolds from there. And then if you were standing at A, where the goalkeeper is away to our right, as if we were watching a football match on television, there are various markers around the arena, and the first marker as you come clockwise away from A is K, and how I was taught to remember it as a kid is A, all King Edward's horses can see the opposite goalkeeper manage big fences, and so you stop at F is the last marker before you come back effectively to A. and the horses must go into the arena and perform the most difficult movements imaginable in terms of the harmony between horse and rider, but they have to hit these exact markers and points in the arena. Obviously, they are also going on a diagonal lines across the arena. They're going up the centre line and back the other way. They're sometimes, so it's really complex, and they're doing 33 different movements. Honestly, this test I've got in front of me, it's 36. This test I've got in front of me runs to 3 sides of A4 paper, and they have to remember it. They just have to remember it. At my level, Tony, I've got my sister stands outside the arena and calls the dressage test for me. You can't do that in Olympic Games. Tina, just explain to people how incredibly difficult this is, the level of dressage that these competitors are riding at.
Absolutely, and actually remembering it is quite a challenge in itself, but obviously all in the preparation. We also have judges, 6 judges around the arena. 7 judges, sorry. And they are humans. They have an opinion on what is a perfect piaffe, as in the horses dancing on the spot. The horses have to do flying changes, and in the test they'll say 15 flying changes, or with 2 strides in between, but the riders have to produce the horses to be doing these movements with very little movement from them. You watching don't want to be seeing too much movement from the riders. Obviously in the training everything is very exaggerated, so you can be super subtle when you're here in front of the judges. You can see horses making mistakes now on the tempi changes, and these horses, just the slightest of movements from the riders, but there are no mark in the arena. There's no centre line. Oh yes, you've got to stick on that mown line, or there's a big X in the middle. Absolutely not. So as well as the riders getting the horses, asking the horses to perform and to dance like they would do if you saw a young horse, a foal in the field, you see them leaping in the air and playing and dancing. But that's very different to doing it in this sort of atmosphere with a rider on your back. So they're all natural movements to the horses, but it's done with precision and timing.
Yeah, this, Tony, is a test of the suppleness, the flexibility, the obedience, the athleticism of the horse. It actually has its basic concept in military history, because the better trained you had a soldier had their horse, the better the horse would be on the battlefield. It's all about precision and the total harmony between horse and rider. And you're going to hear us mention a lot, passage, pirouette, piaffe, half flying changes. We can talk about what some of those movements might be, but it's the horse and rider in total harmony.
Just a quickie, I'm whispering now. The 100 metres about to go. I doubt I'll bother them on the start line. But how long do you get to learn what you have to do? You say you're presented with the skills. How long do you have to get to memorise that?
Oh, you all years. What the test is.
It's the same thing every time then.
Yes, at this level, this is called a Grand Prix special, and it's a sort of fairly, I say it's a standard test. The riders would ride this same test at a World Championships, and they would also ride it at an Olympic Games.
I just wondered if they mixed it up, but they don't do that then. No, it's the same procedure.
It's the same test. But the test that they did the other day in qualifying, that's just called the Grand Prix. That's one test, and then the Grand Prix special that we're seeing here today, which now decide the team medals, it is harder still than what they did in qualifying. So it just cranks up a little bit in terms of the demands placed on horse and rider.
Right, I'm conscious we've got another Brit to go in the 100 metres first round. Sonia, Tina, thanks for now. Sonia, I will see you tomorrow. Sonia, just very quickly, I've broken my record and got a gold today. I now don't hold another record. I'm the last 5 Live presenter to be in the company of Snoop Dogg. And he's there today at your place.
Yes, we were talking about that.
So I won't see him tomorrow.
Yeah, we were talking about that on the drive in the car on the way in today. I think Rishi Prasad's challenge is to try and get Snoop Dogg for BBC television. He's been doing a show in America. He did it, I think, at the last Olympics, and he absolutely got blown away by the dressage. He could not believe what these horses were doing. So, I think there's a picture of him on social media, dressed in a black jacket with the traditional white stock of he just looks like a dressage rider. Snoop Dogg does dressage.
And who knows, one of the horses might be dancing to him tomorrow. We shall see.
Yeah.
Right.
We will see.
Back with you shortly. Sonia and Tina there watching the dressage. Right, let's get the 5 Live News. Here's Beth Ann Holmes.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
A clean-up operation is underway after a night of violence in Sunderland in which 3 police officers were injured and 8 people were arrested. During the unrest, the window of a police building was smashed and a citizens' advice branch was set on fire. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says those attacking the police would pay the price. There's fear of more riots this weekend with more far-right demonstrations organised to take place. BBC Children in Need has removed from all of its platforms a video featuring the 17-year-old who's suspected of carrying out the fatal knife attack in Southport on Monday. It comes after the Daily Mail reported Axel Rudakabana fronted a campaign for the charity when he was 11, dressed as Doctor Who. Families of the victims of 9/11 have welcomed the US government's decision to revoke a plea deal agreed with the man accused of masterminding the atrocity. Under the deal, they would have been spared the death penalty. And US Vice President Kamala Harris has secured enough votes from Democratic delegates to officially be the party's presidential nominee. Miss Harris and Donald Trump will go head-to-head in a TV debate next month.
Driven through the covers.
Every huge boundary.
Clobbered over her head. Away to the boundary for 4.
Every huge 6.
Fielder underneath it can only watch it go over his head.
Every wicket.
Should be a simple catch. She's gone.
Catch it all. It's gone. The 100 continues.
On BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra.
On the BBC Sport website and app.
And on BBC Sounds.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Tony Livesey.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Stade de France, day 3 of the athletics. We've had the decathlon taking place this morning in front of us, discus, and we had the 110 metres hurdles as well. The men's pole vault is underway, and we're now in the men's 100 metres first round. Mixed fortunes for Team GB. We'll get to that in a second. Kath Merry, Ali Kirbishley watching alongside me. We've just had the defending champion.
Yes, we have. We have indeed. The Italian, the first Italian ever to win Olympic men's 100-metre title, Lamont Marcel Jacobs. And you never know what you're going to get with the Olympic champion, do you, Alison? And I don't think he came second in his heat. He ran 10.05 seconds. But he's so hit and miss since winning that Olympic title 3 years ago. But it would be a shock to no athletics fan if he progresses and runs faster through these rounds. But he didn't look particularly convincing there.
No, I mean, you know, when he won in Tokyo as well, through the rounds, it wasn't like he was shining. So it was a big surprise when he did take the title. He took the European title in his home country in Rome not so long ago, just over a month ago, and that was a real popular win, 10.02. But as Kath said, he hasn't really been doing a huge amount. I don't know whether you've caught any of our Netflix sprint series that's gone out this year. He is one of the stars of it. I mean, it's very much focused around Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson, the American sprinters, but I think it's been a really good insight into Marcel and the pressure that he was under when he won that title, because he got a lot of trolling. He got a lot of people saying, oh, you know, you're a one-hit wonder, you know, you're never going to do it again. And there was a lot of negativity around him, and he kind of expressed that, I thought, really well in that sprint documentary. I don't really rate it apart from that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, to put it into context, Marcel Jacobs won the Olympic title in Tokyo, ran 9.80 seconds. He was the first European athlete to do that since Linford Christie in 1992. It was a big deal for European athletics, but his 9.80 clocking would put him number 3 in the world this year, but he's run 9.92 and he's not in the top 10 world rankings. So many people don't expect him to challenge the likes of Kishane Thompson, challenge the likes of Noah Lyles. But as Ali said, Tony, he is a championship performer. And the way track and field works, you get the heats out the way of sprinters. You get to the business end when the semi-finals come. That's when we see what you've really got. And we've got the women's semi-final and final tonight, and the men will come back tomorrow for their semi and their final. Then we'll see what kind of shape people are in here in Paris.
Yeah, you've mentioned Noah Lyles a couple of times, the world champion. He was beaten by Louis Hinchliffe a few moments ago, the British national champion. That was an astonishing race. But mixed fortunes, I've already said, for Team GB today. Earlier than that, after a false start in his heat, the Welshman Jeremiah Azu was disqualified. We watched him walk disconsolately down the track and do a couple of TV interviews. So here he is. Let's hear what he had to say to Sarah Mulkerrins.
Jeremiah, obviously not what you wanted. Just talk us through what was going on there in your mind, and if you knew that you had false started.
Honestly, I reacted to a sound. It's a shame. I mean, the crowd's so excited. They've got the pole vault going on. French fans are in here. It's a shame they didn't let me run under protest. I'm not sure what rules are being used. But they said I've got to go back and put an appeal in, so I'm going to go through the process and see what happens.
Okay, so that's the conversation that was ongoing in that.
So I was saying I want to run under protest. Any other race, they allow you to run. Then after you review it, it's not. But I don't know, it's the Olympics, so it's clearly different rules. So yeah, I'm just going to get back, try and get this protest done as quick as possible, so hopefully I can come back out here and get into the semi-final.
Well, that's interesting. So is that realistic, Kath?
It has been done in the past. We've had many championships where we see a single athlete come back in a very small window of opportunity in the compact schedule that track and field has with all the events, and run an individual race to get an individual time to see if they can get a lane in the next round. I'm not sure. I really don't know. It's a 9-lane track here in the Stade de France. So there is the option, because most track and field tracks are normally just 8. So they do have an option of putting an extra athlete in, but 0.073, so far under the 0.1, I'm not sure whether he's going to get that. But as Ali predicted, and it is noisy in here, he said he heard something, and it is a noisy crowd, and you can only take Jeremiah's word for that. So we'll keep you updated on that appeal, which I say has to be done. Money has to be paid by federations in a certain period of time, and that protest will either get the thumbs up and we might see him race individually, or it will just get kicked out and he won't run.
Well, fingers crossed Azu gets another go at it. Let's talk cycling now. It's the men's road race. Victoria Pendleton's alongside Conor McNamara.
Yes, the breakaway group whose lead was over 7 minutes at one stage, but the peloton have closed that gap to about 5.5 minutes now. Back in that main group, all 4 Team GB riders: Tom Pidcock, Josh Tarling, Stephen Williams and Fred Wright. It's been a wonderful advertising for the French Tourist Board, this road race, because they've taken in all the big sights, leaving the town by Versailles. I mean, that looks spectacular, Victoria Pendleton, all those manicured gardens and all that. And then the course travels past the Velodrome, out by the Golf National, where the golf competition is taking place. And it's such a lovely sunny afternoon in Paris. This really looks great on the television screens, Victoria.
It does. And at the moment, the peloton aren't too worried about the leaders. The gap has been 7 minutes. It's come down to 5. In the leading group, there is a rider from Morocco, from Mauritius, Thailand, Uganda and Rwanda. So the bigger teams are still in the peloton, and they're just biding their time at the moment. They've got a moderate pace, but nothing to panic about.
The route has gone through some small villages. It's taken in country lanes. You've got, as the French love to do, these roadside spectators who are so active and involved and screaming their encouragement to the riders. This is the sport that the French get the most excited about, road race cycling.
Yeah, and we've still got 207 kilometres to go for the leaders, so still many hours of cycling before we reach Paris again to do a couple of circuits of some of the main landmarks where it'll get really exciting, and who knows what will happen. Yeah, we're watching, Tony, the breakaway group with the Rwandan and the rider from Mauritius and the Moroccan, and I was thinking, wow, they're 7 minutes ahead, that's loads, and Victoria's got, no, they can squeeze that in seconds if they want to. Yeah, but at this stage, I don't think the peloton are really putting in any kind of attempt to chase it down. Maybe they don't see these riders as risks. They don't have race radio like they have in normal road racing events, so maybe they're not considering it a bit of a worry at this stage, and they've got plenty of time to close the gap when they want to. But also, in some ways, I really love the idea that these guys have gone for it and they've put in an attack early and they're working together and trying to stay away. They're individual riders, so they're all working without any team support and they're giving it their best shot. So I would like a sort of fairy tale story like that. We want a bit of drama. I mean, we saw Tom Pidcock. I mean, that's only about 5-6 days ago when he won gold on his mountain bike, and that was a thrilling race, which I'm sure many of our listeners would have kept touch with. They got so much publicity at the time, where the lead in the race changed so often. This is a bit more patience, tactical, the Pidcock. I mean, it's a completely different discipline, really. This is a massive difference in length. You know, he was like a couple of hours at the mountain bike. Here they've got 206 kilometres to go. They've been racing for an hour and 40 minutes. Is that already? So it's a long. This is a long haul. This is a long marathon race.
Yeah, we'll be watching it throughout the afternoon. They're not due to finish till roughly 5 p.m. Parisian time, when they'll come back into the city, and they've mapped out an amazing route that goes through Montmartre, that then comes down to the Seine, passes so many of the famous landmarks on the way to the Eiffel Tower for the finish line. That's going to be really dramatic. But for now, they're still teasing each other out, and there is a long, long way to go. But all 4 Team GB riders very much in the mix at the road cycling.
Good stuff. Cheers, Connor. Thanks, Vic. Here in the stadium, actually, we've been enjoying watching the world-class Mondo Duplantis from Sweden in the pole vault. Kath Mary, it's all over.
Yeah, finally, nearly 3 hours into them, starting at 10 local time. We have our finalists for the men's pole vault. And just to our left, Mondo Duplantis, the world record holder, tracksuit back on, he's shaking out his legs. He's got his little wheelie carry-on case with him, because obviously he's there for a long time with all his hydration and his snacks, having a chit-chat with his buddies, fixing his hair, and he's qualified quite comfortably. We didn't need 5 metres and 80, which was the automatic qualifying. 5.75 was the automatic qualifying height that was needed, and he'll come back for the final and try and get another Olympic gold.
Do you know off the top of your head what's his record? It's a 5.75 the qualifier now. What can he do?
His world record is 6 metres and 24, which was his 8th world record that he's ever set when he vaulted that in China this year in April. Right. He's excuse the pun, head and shoulders and everything else above everything. It's his goal to lose. He is the biggest gold medal favourite, I think it's fair to say, Al, in track and field in any event. If he loses, oh my days, it would be. No, Mondo doesn't do that very often.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't get good odds on him. Put it this way, Livesey.
Don't put your bottle of wine on it with Parry, because you lose.
I think what you could do, though, is expect him to have a go at the world record, because he loves delivering on the biggest stage. And we've seen a couple of attempts this year. He did the world record back in April, which he said was a bit of a shock to him. He didn't think he'd do it that early in the season, but I think that was because he finished last year at the Diamond League final, attempted a world record, didn't get it, and he said the frustration was with him all through the winter. So he came out in April, did a world record at a Diamond League in front of about 3 man and a dog, and so now we're desperate to see it in a stadium like this.
And what he wants to do, Tony, is when he eventually retires, because let's not forget he's still very young, but he wants to leave the world record as a true reflection of his talent. Whereas those previously that have held the world record, it was the Frenchman Roland Avillenie, who was introduced to the crowd earlier here and very warmly received. Mondo took the world record off him. Renault left it with a 6.16, and it reflected his ability. Before that was the great Sergei Bubka, who still talks today about, you know what, I went higher in training, but he would knock it up by 1 centimetre increments at lots of different athletics meetings, because he'd get bonuses and he'd get a lot of money. Mondo loves vaulting so much that I think Alison's right. We like to have a championships where Mondo Duplantis attempts a world record. It's the done thing now. Like the sun comes up in the morning and goes down at night. It's a major champs. What's Mondo going to do?
Well, I think Monday night is the time to keep your eyes and ears out for Mondo Duplantis. We've still got Zarnell Hughes to go in the men's 100 metres first round, by my reckoning, so keep your ears out for that as well. Let's touch in on the tennis. At Roland Garros, it's the men's doubles gold medal match underway. Jonathan Overend's watching.
Yes, hello Tony. Finals weekend underway here at the famous home of the French Open, Roland Garros, to the west side of Paris. It's plush round here, and the tree-lined boulevards lead the way to one of the great tennis venues in the world. And what a match we've got tomorrow. Djokovic against Alcaraz for the men's singles. Later today, Qin Wenzheng against Donna Vekic for the women's singles. That's China against Croatia. And at the moment is Australia against USA in the men's doubles gold medal match. Two teams full of established doubles players. And Austin Krajicek and Rajiv Ram lead this first set 6-5 against Matt Ebden and John Peers from Australia. So much support for both of these nations around the stadium, Tony. But what's also striking are the number of British flags and the number of Great Britain T-shirts and Team GB T-shirts I saw walking in here today, just because I think people, I mean, I'm just presuming from this, that people maybe bought up tickets in the hope that it would be Andy Murray playing this match today, and that would be too great an opportunity if you were in Paris to miss out. So it's a real carnival atmosphere. Countries all around the world represented with the flags I can see right now, and an entertaining start to this men's doubles gold medal match.
Brilliant. If only, Jonathan. Good to talk to you. Thanks to Overs there at Roland Garros. Let's touch in on the golf as well. Ian Carter's watching the action at Le Golf National.
Perfect scoring conditions once again, and an excellent leaderboard with Sander Schauffele, Hideki Matsuyama and Great Britain's Tommy Fleetwood all at the top of the leaderboard, all on the opening hole of their third rounds at 11 under par. 2 shots clear of John Rahm, who's just parred the first. Torbjorn Olesen showing that there are birdies in the opening stretch of holes. He's covered the first 7 holes in 5 under par, the Dane, and so he's moved into the group at 8 under par. And an encouraging start for Rory McIlroy as well. A couple of early birdies, and that's moved the man representing Ireland in these Olympics to 7 under par, into the top 10 and within 4 shots of the lead.
Ian, thank you very much indeed. In front of me here, we've got the penultimate heat in the men's 100 metres, and in the final heat, Britain's golden boy Zarnell Hughes goes, so we'll have that for you very shortly. Let's go back to the pool. It's, I believe, the men's 4x100 metres medley relay. Steve Parry and Alistair Bruce-Ball.
It is, Tony. La Défense Arena absolutely buzzing as well. We've just had the first heat. France won it. Léon Marchand swimming again. 8 fastest teams from the 2 heats go through to the final, and Great Britain in this one in lane 3. First up for them, Ollie Morgan swimming the backstroke, so it's 2 lengths of each stroke for the 4 swimmers. The big news here as well, Steve Parry, we've not brought it to our listeners this morning, Adam Peaty back in the pool for Great Britain for the first time since he swam in the 100 metres breaststroke final last Sunday.
Yeah, and it'd be great to see the big man back in the water. We all know he was disappointed with that time that got him a silver medal, so let's see what he can do here. He'll want to be going 58 seconds on this relay, and Ollie Morgan has started well for the Brits.
Yeah. Quickest at the turn, Ollie Morgan, after 50 metres of the backstroke. USA and Australia will be strong challengers in this heat in particular. USA, no exaggeration to say, they always win this event. The only time they haven't in Olympic history, 1980, when they boycotted the Games in Moscow. But Ollie Morgan has started really well for Great Britain here. He is going to hand over to Adam Peaty. Silver medal on Sunday night. Peaty into the water, tested positive for COVID on Monday, has been training the last few days though, and there is that familiar, distinctive, Peaty, powerful breaststroke, taking him up the first 25 metres of this length.
He looks brilliant, doesn't he? So powerful. He's carving his way through the water there, and the class of Peaty here showing, because he is making ground here on the Americans, getting ahead of them, and the Australians too. Brits at the head.
Italy going quite well in lane 6 too, but Adam Peaty leads at the turn. You were saying as well, Steve, that Peaty's very best swimming over the last decade or so really gave Great Britain an advantage in these relays.
Yeah, and that advantage not quite there, because he would usually be a couple of seconds ahead, providing a huge differential. The Olympic champion for the breaststroke, Martinenghi, is going for Italy here, and he's brought them into contention as well.
Adam Peaty's still in front by half a body length, then very close between the USA, Australia and Italy. All about the time though. Peaty touches the wall, hands over here to Joe Litchfield, who is going to swim the butterfly 100 metres for Great Britain here on his right-hand side. Thomas Heilmann for the USA, Ben Armbruster for the Australian team, and Giacomo Carini for the Italians. Those are the 4 teams out in front, and making a charge up lane 7 as well. Spain, it's still Great Britain in front. Litchfield just has the edge at the turn. Steve?
Yeah, Litchfield not the preferred butterfly swimmer. He's doing a great job here, uses the full 15 underwater, and he's got a metre on the Americans here. Powerhouses are swimming. America and Australia, expect them to come strong now at the end.
GB just edging it at the moment with Joe Litchfield. Real battle on his hands here though against USA and Australia, who are coming back strongly. Canada going pretty well in lane 2. Finally, it's going to be Matt Richards who leaps in, and he'll swim the last 100 metres freestyle here. And we've got about 6 swimmers pretty much neck and neck, tearing their way down the pool, swimming away to our right-hand side at the moment. Matt Richards up against Jack Alexey of the USA here, and Kyle Chalmers for Australia. That is strong.
Yeah, no messing around on this freestyle leg. Richards versus Jack Alexey against Kyle Chalmers. And they're close here, Ali. I'm getting a bit nervous. Britain have got to get their hand to the wall, or they're in danger of missing out on this final.
Right. 8 fastest times take you through. They're shoulder to shoulder, 6 of them. spread across the pool here. Matt Richards still very much in the mix. It's the Americans out in front with Jack Alexey. Kyle Chalmers going really strongly for Australia, and Canada finishing strongly too. Matt Richards, good swim this. Last 25 metres, gets to the wall, and Great Britain finished second in that heat. Fast heat. The USA take it, then Great Britain, then Australia in third. Matt Richards had to work really hard there to keep Britain in the running, and he got there in second.
Yeah, I think a huge outcome there, Ali, might be that Italy missed out. They were a really scary team. They've got the Olympic champion on backstroke, the Olympic champion on breaststroke. They might not even make the final here.
Steve, Ali, thank you for that. For now, here in front of us here on the track, Zarnell Hughes, Great Britain's golden boy in the sprint, is out, just warming up ahead of his. It's the final heat of qualifying. We'll have that for you very shortly. Let's just nip to talk windsurfing with Shoujo Saka. There could be a couple of medal hopes for GB this afternoon down in Marseille, Shoujo.
Yeah, Antonio, just watched Sam Sills of Great Britain work his way into the semi-finals of this. Now, the way this works is windsurfing, you go through an opening series with the whole field, and if you finish in the top 10, then you're through to the quarterfinals. And so Sam Sills finished 8th in the opening series. In this quarterfinal that he's just got through, seven boats in that, 7 boards in that, and you've got to come in the top 2 to get into the semis, which he has done. We will see Emma Wilson of Great Britain go for gold a little bit later on today, so we'll certainly talk more about her. But just to tell you, it's such a relief to see sailing going on in Marseille Marina today, because the sailing schedule has been so higgledy-piggledy. They've had to cancel a few races. These medal races that we're watching today were supposed to take place yesterday, but because of the lack of wind, it's been a bit of a nightmare in terms of the schedule. But thankfully, my colleagues at the BBC Weather Centre tell me that a moderate Mistral wind is due to stay for most of the day today. It's coming up through the Mistral Mountains, the massive Central Mountains, and down between the Alps and into Marseille Harbour. So we should see the schedule stay in place today. But as it is, Sam Sills through to the semi-finals, which will take place in the next half an hour or so. And if he gets to the final, then he'll be guaranteed a medal. Okay. Emma Wilson of GB is already guaranteed a medal, and we should see her going for gold in the next 45 minutes or so.
Brilliant, Shoujo. Thank you very much indeed. Here in the Stade de France, there's a wonderful moment, a personal highlight for me. We're getting Edith Piaf on the karaoke on the big screen. Kath and Ali, shall we join in?
Well, we should, but I'm guessing Zarnell Hughes, this could have been played for him, because no regrets. Last time he was in the Olympic Games, he did a false start in the 100-metre final.
I love it.
Do you reckon he's asked for that?
I love it. Right, well, there goes Edith Piaf. Here comes Zarnell Hughes. What can we expect here, Kath?
There's a link I wasn't expecting on this day this morning here at Stade de France. It's the final heat of the men's 100 metres. The British record holder Zarnell Hughes has waited patiently. He'll line up in lane number 4, looking to make the top 3 to qualify for the semi-finals tomorrow. A reminder, Jeremiah Azu, back in heat number 1, disqualified the British athlete, putting a protest in. Loie Hinchliffe, well, he beat Noah Lyles in his heat, in heat number 3, and Hinchliffe through to the semi-finals automatically. It's a tough heat though this. Zarnell Hughes going in 4, as I mentioned, World Championship bronze over this distance, 6 recently at the London Diamond League, on the comeback from injury. A hamstring injury disrupted him in the early part of this season, but he said he's better from London, and that was just 2 weeks ago. And he looks cool, calm and relaxed as he's introduced to the near 75,000 fans here at the Stade de France. He wipes the sweat from his brow. The cheer is loud. We're so close to home. The British fans getting themselves on the big screen. Tobogo of Botswana, the first Botswanan man to break 10 seconds. He could be a threat in this heat. He goes in lane number 2. And Fred Curley, he bought a ranch in East Texas recently. He's got horses and chickens, and he wants to become a farmer. But before that, he'd love to become the Olympic champion, the American. Silver in Tokyo 3 years ago, a threat in lane 5. Cisse of the Ivory Coast, lane 6. Brown of Canada, lane 7. This is a loaded heat with the first 3 going through. And as Alison mentioned previously, Zarnell Hughes made the Olympic final in Tokyo, but was disqualified for a false start. Can the British start to put things right in 2024? Curley against Hughes. Camera focusing on Tobogo, the Botswanan I mentioned, World Championship silver for him. He goes in lane number 2. He looks calm, Alison. He's just put his hands together in the prayer position. He's ready to rock and roll, but a tough heat with Fred Curley in this one as well.
Yeah, exactly. What Fred Curley is going to turn up today, because we haven't seen him anywhere close to his best when we saw him take the silver medal at the Olympic Games in Tokyo.
So the athletes brought to their mark. Tobogo the last to settle into his blocks in lane number 2. The journey starts for Zarnell Hughes, the British record holder, goes in lane number 4 in this final heat of the men's 100 metres. The gold chain, the gold cross, dangling down towards the purple track. A false start, but it wasn't Zarnell Hughes, folks. As you were, one of the outer lanes, potentially the Democratic Republic of Congo athlete Mulamba, jumping the gun in this final heat.
It was either him or Aaron Brown. I don't know who set Aaron Brown off, but he came out like a bullet.
Well, our officials have been pretty busy, haven't they, Tony? They were busy in the first heat with Britain's Jeremiah Azu. And it's been announced on the PA system that Brown of Canada could be in trouble here. These officials, they move so quick into position, but you have to wait for the decision. So I think we're going to have a bit of deja vu here, because he's probably going to go over and ask for
now he's got a
details.
red and black card.
Right. So red and black means you can potentially run under protest, or you can't, Alison. Confirm for us.
I mean, I thought it was just a plain red card that we saw from Jeremiah Azu. But no, there's no argument here from Aaron Brown. He's walking straight off the track. I think he saw heat 1 and thought it's not even worth the argument. But without a doubt, I mean, he definitely jumped the gun. He was definitely out his blocks. It was quite a long hold, but that's, you can only go on the gun. And he definitely went before it.
Yep, the starter can technically take as long as they want and hold you for as long as they want. Here we go then. Little high knee bounce from Zarnell Hughes. Lowers himself into his blocks in lane number 4. Brown has gone. He was quite a danger man. He's sub 10 seconds at his best. But the Canadian has left the building. Hughes in 4, Fred Curley in 5. The top 3 guaranteed a place in the semi-final. One final look down the track from the American Fred Curley. The centre lanes are the ones to watch. Another long hold again. Green out well in lane number 3. Hughes has got a bit of work to do here. Fred Curley leading the way. Tobogo on the inside. Zarnell Hughes is going to finish in 3rd place in the final heat of the men's 100 metres. Tobogo, the Botswanan, out like a rocket. 9.97 seconds for him. Fred Curley in 2nd. Zarnell Hughes with a not particularly great start, worked his way through into an automatic qualifying position.
Hey, I'll take that. He definitely, out of all the Brits, had the toughest in terms of quality in his field with Fred Curley and Tobogo. And he didn't fight it. He just did what he needed to do. 9.97 now from Fred Curley, but Zarnell Hughes 10.03. Job's done. But as Kath said, semi-finals is where we start to see them kind of show their cards. They really do have to start kind of making a mark and kind of really sort of saying, I'm here to win medals.
We know the fate of Jeremiah Azu is in the lap of the gods at the moment, so we've been impressed with Hinchliffe and Hughes. Kath, what can we say at the moment about their form? Just done what required, really?
Yeah, Hinchliffe is the better one at the moment, because that injury that Zarnell Hughes had that he picked up in Jamaica, the hamstring injury, really disrupted him. I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago he came and raced in London and finished 6th. He was beaten by Noah Lyles. I am fearful that Zarnell Hughes is going to run out of time for this Olympic Games and get back in race shape. He was very sleepy in that first 40 metres, and what you cannot do in 100 metre running is give anything away. And what I hate seeing, and Zarnell didn't do this on purpose, Alison, of course, but you have to nail your technique in every single round. Zarnell wasn't showboating, I'm not talking about him, but you see so many sprinters, Tony, go through rounds, dropping their shoulders and then expecting their body to react and do something different in the semis. It doesn't work in 100 metre sprinting. Hinchcliffe, for me, look better than Zarnell Hughes at this stage, but this is a championship performer and a world championship medalist.
I think what we've been able to see from all 8 heats is this is so wide open. I know we keep going on about Noah Lyles, and I know that everyone outside of athletics might think he's the quickest man in the world. He's not. He speaks the loudest and he's the biggest character, but he's not the quickest on the track this year. 9.81. But what he has got is he's got the mental capacity to beat everybody else when he's on the start line. You know, his quote when he came out, he said, if I'm in the race, I'm going to win. So he's been talking the right game, and we'll see tomorrow night, semi-finals, and then 90 minutes later, the final.
Good stuff, Ali Kath, for now, thank you. Let's go off to the tennis. Roland Garros Overs is watching the men's doubles gold match, and the first set's over.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun this. The crowd are really enjoying it inside court. Philippe Chatrier, Australia against the USA, and it is the Americans, Rajiv Ram and Austin Krajicek, who've edged the first set on a tie-break. 8 points to 6. Rajiv Ram, one of the most popular players in the locker room, is 40 years of age now, which in tennis terms is well, it's ancient, isn't it? But Djokovic is 37, so I suppose they're getting older and older. And if Ram were to win an Olympic gold medal at 40, it would be a brilliant story for the United States. They have the lead with the first set. It's the same format as with those Murray matches earlier, Tony, in the tournament. So 2 regulation sets, and then if it goes 1 set all, it'll be a first 10-point tiebreak to decide it.
Good stuff, Jonathan, thank you. Back to the pool. We've already heard the men in action in the 4x100 metres medley, Adam Peaty included. It's the women's turn now, and watching Steve Parrott and ABB.
It is. Just to wrap it up on the men, Great Britain are through to the final, 2nd fastest in their heat, 5th fastest overall. French fans very excited in here because the men's team, including Léon Marchand, were quickest in qualification, so there is going to be a rip-roaring atmosphere for that final tomorrow. This is the women's event. The first semi-final has been and gone. Australia were the quickest in that, followed by China and then the French team. Backstrokers ready to go. That is Kathleen Dawson for Great Britain. They are in lane 2. In lane 4 we have the USA. Lane 5 we have Canada. Lane 6 we have Japan. And also swimming for Great Britain in this medley relay, Angharad Evans, Kiana McInnes will do the butterfly, and Freya Anderson will bring it home on the freestyle. What are we thinking here then, Steve Parry?
Well, a good performance here for the British women would be to make the final. You know, they have got their work cut out to make that happen, and they've gone with the fastest quartet to do that this morning. Probably the weakest leg would be the backstroke Dawson here, and she has turned 5th.
She's trying to stay in touch at the moment. Canada have the lead of the race. That's Ingrid Wilms swimming the backstroke for them. Sweden close by as well in lane 3, but Kathleen Dawson sticking with the pace, probably a body length behind the leader here. Was in 5th at the turn. I would say she's about 4th or 5th here, as she's going to hand it over to Angharad Evans, who is waiting on her diving blocks. There's the touch, there's the takeover, in she goes, and now we are into the breaststroke. Canada picking up the pace a little bit in lane 5. Sophie Angus swimming the breaststroke for them, but an okay start from Great Britain.
Yeah, that was an excellent takeover there for Evans. Feet was straight off the block as soon as Dawson touched the wall, and she's getting Britain back into this here, looking really good, but they're up against it. America's so dominant here, got so much talent. They're actually going with their second string swimmer in every single leg.
So at the turn in the breaststroke leg, it is Canada who just have the lead with Sophie Angus. The USA their closest challengers. Sweden still right up there as well in lane 3, and Angharad Evans is sticking with the pace in lane 2, about 25 metres to go of the breaststroke, and then she will hand it over to Kiana McInnes on the butterfly. 10 metres to go. Good swim from Evans here, moving up past a couple of other competitors and actually closing in on the USA and Canada. Put Great Britain in a really good position at the halfway stage in this semi-final. Now, what was that gasp for, Steve Parry?
She took an extra stroke at the end. She almost did a hospital pass there for on that takeover. You should never take an extra stroke by the wall, because the swimmer, Kiana McInnes, was already leaving her blocks, but the time is good, but it did have me very nervous.
Takeover is absolutely crucial. Just like on the athletics track with the baton, it can go wrong. You can see teams disqualified. Kiana McInnes flying down the pool. At the turn there, Japan who lead now, Canada in second, and the USA in third. Japan in lane 6 have suddenly come into this semi-final at high speed. Kiana McInnes is trying to hold on her left-hand side is Louise Hansen for Sweden. And all these swimmers, again, pretty much shoulder to shoulder, heading towards the freestyle. Swimming that for Great Britain will be Freya Anderson. Japan are just going to have the lead at the touch here. Canada and USA close by. And Freya Anderson into the water now for Great Britain.
Really tough job here for Freya Anderson. Great Britain currently in 7th place. They're going to have a real tough job here to make it through the final. They need a leg of dreams here from Freya Anderson.
Freya Anderson is the one who's had a really tough year, struggling with glandular fever for a long time this year. In the pool here in the Olympics, so much work to do. 8 fastest teams will go through to the final, and Great Britain in danger of missing out here. Good flip and turn from Freya Anderson. Canada have the lead in the race. All the swimmers being roared home to the finish. USA are up there, Japan are up there as well. And now Anderson steps on the gas.
Well, Anderson's taking on the Olympic champion, Sarah Sjostrom, in the lane next to her, and she's coming up on her all the time. She's now on her shoulder.
Great swim by Freya Anderson. Japan still going strongly in lane 6. Anderson pushing, now losing a little bit of gas. And I think Great Britain there, in the end, are going to come in 6th fastest in that heat. Canada take it, then the USA, then Japan. Great Britain 6th fastest in a time of 3:58.34 seconds. That is not going to be good enough for the final.
No, unfortunately not. Great Britain are going to miss out there. Couldn't quite match the men in getting through in one of those middle lanes. We always knew it was going to be tough for them, but just fell short on that occasion.
So Freya Anderson did her best there, Tony, on the freestyle length, and as Steve was describing there, was coming back to Sarah Sjostrom, the Swede, there in that final length, but eventually just ran out of steam, and Great Britain's women won't swim in the 4x100 metres medley relay final, but the men have qualified in their event, and they qualified 5th fastest.
Cheers, guys. Alistair and Steve, thank you. Yeah, mixed news from the pool then. We have had great news this morning, though. The women's 8 in the rowing took bronze earlier on, and the men's 8 took gold, which was fantastic to hear. We heard it live here on the programme. Right, that's my stint over. I'm off, and I'm handing the baton in our little Parisian cafe to Chappers. Morning, Chappers. Afternoon.
Where are you off to?
My daughter's visiting, so I'm going to the Arc de Triomphe and the old Champs-Élysées and yeah, all the general sites.
A bit Del Boy there, aren't you?
yeah. That's what I'm planning to do. I'm just going to have a look round. Really, I'll listen to you on the old earbuds.
Well,
he pretended.
Won't you talk to your daughter?
Yeah, no, I was just doing that for corporate reasons.
So right, okay. Thank you very much. Right, Tony's off for a nice afternoon in Paris. We have got so much going on this afternoon here at the Olympics. Day 8, dressage, men's golf. We've got the men's road race, gymnastics to come later on as well. We'll round up all the athletics that's been going on, looking ahead to another night of swimming finals as well. There's sailing, there's canoe cross. There is also in amongst all the Olympics the start of the Scottish football season as well. So we will keep you up to date with what is going on the opening day there across all the divisions. So we'll mix Tynecastle, where it's Hearts against Rangers, with Versailles, and not many other people can do that. Not many other stations can do that. Sonia McLaughlin watching the dressage at the moment, and Britain are going.
They are. Carl Hester, 7-time Olympian. He has 3 medals at Olympic level to his name, including gold. Is currently coming towards the end of his dressage test here on Fame, this 14-year-old bay stallion. And remember, Becky Moody had put Britain into gold medal position here after a really solid start on her horse Jägerbomb. And there are 3 riders for each team, 10 teams, the scores calculated and crunched together, and the highest percentage score wins the Olympic gold medal for the team. This is a test that is called a Grand Prix Special. 34 different movements. It's really complicated. And Carl Hester, Tina, made a really strong start, it had to be said, and then it got a little bit sticky, didn't it, in the middle. He had a sequence of 4s from some of the judges for an extended trot, and then the next extended trot into passage.
Yeah, Carl Hester has been at his very best. Fame came into this amazing stadium with the crowds all around the edge, and he just looked a little bit spooked, a bit bright, wasn't really listening to Carl, and he broke into canter when he should have been in trot, so the marks dropped down. But Carl has worked his brilliance, his magic in getting Fame onside, and has now clawed back some really good scores towards the end, and a great finish, and is actually on a very similar score, just below Becky Moody. But he is where he had really dropped down. A lot of these second riders, the horses, are looking very much like they're feeling the pressure of the crowd. They feel rather lonely in there, in that middle of that stadium. It's just horse and rider left in the middle, but Carl is smiling and actually looking probably quite relieved. There was that little split second in the middle of that test where he thought, oh, could go horribly wrong, but he did a great job.
Yeah, he recovered after the horse spooked when it came into the arena, gave a little pat on the neck. As it says, the test got a little bit sticky in the middle, but he recovered really well, Mark. And Carl Hester and Fame have put Great Britain back into gold medal position on 153.009 percentage marks. So Britain in gold, the Netherlands in second, France in third after two of the three riders. But I can't stress enough that the Danish team and the Germans still have a second rider each to come, and they're third riders for both of those teams. There are some real dressage big guns to come. So this order is going to change, but Britain are having a really solid start here. We've got sitting in gold medal position as Carl Hester leaves the arena.
Thank you very much, Sonia and Tina. And if they were, and it is a big if at the moment, bearing in mind what Sonia has just said, but if they were to take gold, the dressage team, that would be an unprecedented for Britain clean sweep of the team events in the equestrian, following the show jumping team yesterday and the eventing team a few days ago. We are going to talk about what could be an historic afternoon in gymnastics as well for Britain. We'll do that after a quick update on the men's golf from Ian Carter.
Because there have been developments at the top of the leaderboard which leave Tommy Fleetwood of Great Britain at the top on his own at 11 under par, pars at the first two holes for the Englishman. But Xander Schauffele was unable to get up and down from a greenside bunker at the third, missing a short putt, only 2.5 feet, and that meant a bogey that drops him back to 10 under par. Playing partner Hideki Matsuyama drove into the water on that par 3, so he dropped a shot there as well. We now have three players at 10 under par: Schauffele, Matsuyama and John Rahm, who's just birdied the third, the Spaniard, then moving into a share of second place at 10 under, and that's one behind Tommy Fleetwood out on his own on the par 5 third at 11 under par.
And quickly to Shoujo watching the sailing.
Yeah, Sam Sills of Great Britain going for a place in the final and to guarantee himself a bronze medal. He's currently racing in the semi-final. 4 boats in this. He's in there with a Dutch surfer, somebody from New Zealand, Josh Armitt, and also Israel's Tom Roiveni. If he gets through this, he will be guaranteed a medal. They are halfway through this race, just going around the first mark. Sam Sills of Great Britain looking for a place in the final and a medal.
So Beth Tweddle is with me in the cafe as we talk about the afternoon in the gymnastics, and Craig Heap, part of the TV commentary team, is with us as well. Could be historic, couldn't it, Beth, this afternoon with Max Whitlock?
It could, absolutely. I mean, we started the medal run yesterday with obviously Bryony taking that Olympic title, and then Max, I mean, I don't think he needs any introduction. The fact that he's going for his 4th Olympics, 4th medal in an Olympic Games, and obviously 3 titles in a row. So it's going to be a nerve-wracking one to watch. It's not an easy ride for him. It's not like he's the front runner and there's no one chasing him. There is absolutely about 3 or 4 of them that could take this title.
Is his main danger for you, Beth, Rhys McClenaghan?
Yeah, I mean, there's been huge rivalry between these two. They've bounced around on the podium for a few years now, but there is other names in there as well. Stephen Nodorsic, who took the historic bronze with the Americans in the team final. He won't want to just give up that medal either. So Max has definitely got the difficulty, and we know with Max he can up the difficulty. The difference is today he's going up very early in the running order. He's the first of kind of the big hitters. So I think Max is just going to have to kind of lay down the score and let the others sweat it out.
There are advantages, and you can find positives and negatives, can't you, Craig, to where you are in a running order, I'm guessing?
Yes, it can be a real advantage, and I think Max has got a great position, because if you're first up, you really cut your warm-up short to save a bit of energy. And if you're too far down the field, it's almost such that a long time since you've actually been on the apparatus is a disadvantage. But we've seen Rees in qualification. He was right at the last round. He was the last person up, and he knocked out, the highest score of the day. It's a case of the old guy on the scene against the young upcoming star, but also, I mean, there are a lot of great gymnasts in this. The first one up, Kamanov of Kazakhstan, he scored a 15, but he could well go above that. He's hit a 15.3 regular, which is more than what Max and Rees has done. Rees, I know, will be up in his routine today, probably by about 3/10, so he'll be 6.6, so that'll be a maximum score of 16.6, and I think Max will do a 6.9. So I think it's going to be so close, because my personal opinion, Rees is probably now the better technical pommel worker, but it's Max's difficulty that will just give him those extra few tenths. But what a final it's going to be.
I'm just going to take the end of this windsurfing race, and then we'll come back to you. Shojo.
Yeah, Sam Sills of Great Britain currently trying to reach the final and guarantee himself a medal. There's only 4 boats in this semi-final. Sam finished 8th in the opening series and has worked himself into the semi-finals after coming through the quarter-finals. He's currently lost a bit of ground. He's just chasing the boat from Israel. It's Netherlands leading, Israel second, Sam in 3rd place, and it's a dart to the finish, but I don't think he's lost a bit of ground over the last 30 seconds or so. In fact, he's dropped back into 4th place. As we see the finish line here, it will be the Dutch surfer who will cross that first and book himself a place in the final. I think it'll be Israel second. It looks like Sam Sills' Olympic Games is over for now, but he can be really proud of his achievements. Coached by Nick Dempsey, 3-time Olympic medalist himself, and he'll be proud of Sam's achievements. Sam's going to cross the line 4th here at Marseille Marina, and that is a creditable performance by Sam Sills of Great Britain, but no place in the final and no medals this time.
Tommy Fleetwood has a 1-shot lead in the golf on the 3rd round. He is 11 under. John Rahm 10 under, along with Xander Schauffele and Hideki Matsuyama. Just going back to the warm-up point that Craig made, do you all have to warm up at the same time and then it's done? So if you are going later, you just sort of sat twiddling your thumb?
Yeah, so they've actually changed it recently. We used to have a big warm-up kind of 2 hours before your final started, and then you used to be able to warm up as much as you like in the back gym and then just walk through and just have to do your routine. But for the safety of the athletes, they've reintroduced the 30-second warm-up. So every gymnast will march out, they'll do the presentation to the audience, each gymnast will get 30-second touch, and then it is a case of you've just got to sit it out and wait. So if you last up, it can be good half hour, 40 minutes before you're back on the apparatus, and you've kind of got to listen to the crowd. You can try and not watch it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
But the crowd give it away.
Because Bryony Page was saying to me last night, who won our trampoline in gold, of course, she was saying she made a specific point of not watching anything, but then when the trampolinist who went before her went, she obviously wasn't watching, but she knew from the crowd that she'd obviously done a good routine, which actually buoyed her up before her she started her routine.
Yeah, you can kind of take yourself to the corner of the arena and try and switch off, listen to music or whatever. But
put a blindfold on.
yeah,
put music.
but the crowd are like, whoa, ah. And then obviously if it's on an apparatus where it's high bar or bars, which is what I did, you hear them kind of hitting the crash mats or hitting the floor, and yeah, the audience just give it away. So as much as you can, you kind of focus on your own job. Some people like to look at the scores, they like to know what they need to do, but I know Max relies a lot on his coach, Scott, so Scott will kind of tell him, they'll discuss it, what routine do we need to go to. But I think actually today, because he's so early on in the final, it's a case of he'll know what routine he's doing.
You would have thought, Craig, wouldn't you, as well, that his experience will allow him to deal with anything really now?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, though, in this Olympic Games so far, a lot of the favourites fall because of the huge pressure that they're under. I mean, you could see the relief on Bryony's face when she hit a routine. I mean, she was 5th in qualification, and I was in the arena with Christine, and I'm looking at her thinking, oh, this is a bit twitchy, isn't it, Chris? I'm like, and when she hit a routine, we're like ecstatic, and I think my saying yesterday was, there's no point winning the warm-up, and that was so true. I mean, she just put it out there, did a routine, and her reaction reminded me of when she won that first Olympic silver medal back in Rio. It was like a complete shock, and the look on her face. I mean, the score was big, but I didn't know if you've obviously spoke to her, and was that the score she expected? It seemed a bit bigger than what, she'd performed in the previous runs. I mean, what did she say?
Do you know what? I didn't ask her whether she expected that or not, but I did talk to her a lot, which I found really interesting. And we did it on the radio yesterday with Paul Greaves, who's GB trampolining coach, who was her coach earlier in her career. About she changed her penultimate or her last. Skill. Thank you very much. I was going to say trick, but that's going to happen when she goes to Cirque du Soleil. Her last skill, and she did that in a split second because of where she was on the. And I find that Beth, the most mind-blowing thing of that split second changing of a skill, because you have to understand where you are. So I don't know whether she was surprised by her score on. I mean, she was just in a bit of a daze anyhow, and it was like 5 hours after she'd won it. But that I find.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the gymnasts, they'll train their competitive routine day in, day out, but just as she had to adapt yesterday, she's probably had to do that in training as well. So I would have done my routines, and if something didn't quite go right, my coach will have taught me what is the get out clause to obviously if you can stay on the apparatus, you're not taking the full deduction, you might lose a 10th in difficulty, or you might take a small execution error, but you're not going to take the full mark, and that totally throws you out the game. So gymnasts are the spatial awareness, the body awareness, they are able to make adaptations very, very quickly.
You need to go to television just before you go. In between, well, I'll talk the floor with Craig, and in between the men's floor, because Britain have opportunities there, in between the men's floor and the men's pommel, there's a women's vault.
There is, yes.
So presumably that's another gold for Simone Biles, is it?
She has got incredible difficulty. Andrade won't let it lie easily. She has submitted a really difficult vault that no one else in the world has ever done, and could be named after. Has she done it before? Andrade, yeah, she will have trained it. Right. So she has submitted it. Whether she'll do it today, I don't know. Biles, it all depends. As long as she lands on her feet. If she lands on her feet, the gold is hers. Right. Basically, the difficulty is too high.
You make that sound incredibly simple.
Do you know what? I'd love to say it is, and it is in your wildest dreams, but actually that W Paitychenko it's an insane vault. Like, you just can't even comprehend how hard it is. The men do it, but even only a couple of men do it. But for the women, the vault's 10 centimetres less in height. So yeah, she's but in the podium training for this, she actually nailed that landing. So imagine if she does that today, the roof will come off that building.
Brilliant. Right, we shall let you go. You
no
go
worries,
to television.
Thanks very
you can
much.
see Beth on the telly later. They'll be showing the gymnastics, I'm absolutely sure. Craig, just as far as Max Whitlock is concerned, just going back to him, do you think going for this unprecedented fourth, winning a medal on the same apparatus at 4 consecutive Olympics, does Is that a pressure, or the fact that he has had such a successful career, can he relax?
Well, because it's probably his last competition, he's announced yesterday that was his last ever training session before the games, and this will be his last competition. I don't know really which way he's going to go. One is, I've got the opportunity to make history and I'm going to enjoy it. I mean, he's already, such an iconic figure within British sport. And a role model to so many. Whether he's just going to go out there and enjoy it, but I think knowing Max and his coach, he's very calm, he's very understated, and I just wonder deep down he's got this real ambition to be the best. So I think he's really going to be nervous. But he's going to go all out. I don't think he's going to play safe. As Beth said, he will have a get out clause. So if his routine's not just going to plan, it can reduce the difficulty to get through the routine, which will make it even closer. And I also think that at the Olympic Games, as we've seen with quite a lot of the gymnastics so far, if you play safe, you haven't got the opportunity to make amends quite quickly. It's another 4 years away, so it's a very personal decision. Are you going to go all out, and risk the fall, going, well, I did my best, or are you going to play safe and miss out on a medal, spending the rest of your life worrying, whether I've made the right decision? But it is going to be, heck of a final. And you know what, we were in a cafe the other day. I've got a real interesting story quickly about the American kid, Nadosic. His father went to a school sale of gymnastic equipment, and he bought all the gym. And he said, I got the parallel bars home and put them in the garden and looked at them and thought, Stephen's going to kill himself on those. So he thought the pomelos looked a bit safer. And I said to Stephen, come on, give me a hand, get this pomelos in the back garden. And he begrudgingly lifted it in the garden with him and he fastened it down. And he said he saw no interest in this piece of apparatus at all till they had a family barbecue get-together. And all the young girls were like, Stephen, can you do something on the pommel horse? And it was at that moment he thought, I can get chicks here. And so that was the story behind him learning the pommelos, not to get to the Olympic Games, to pull chicks. And if you see his girlfriend now, wow, he's punching. So it's definitely done the trick. What a lovely story. What a great family. And I just think if anybody's going to upset the apple cart, it might be him today.
Can you imagine the dad going home and his wife saying, "Did you get anything at the school gym?" Well, I've just got these uneven, the uneven bars or the parallel bars, and I've got the pommel and the rings are there as well.
He bought the full gym. He bought the full gym. And he had to sell it all off.
Can I ask you one question, because we haven't mentioned the floor final, and I've got to move on. But Jake Jarman, the top qualifier, Luke Whitehouse is in it as well. Jarman's go with the highest difficulty, isn't he, of all competitors?
He is. One of the things that Jake struggled with probably over the past 12 months is his consistency on this piece of apparatus. So he's actually made it easier for him on the difficulty. And the last 3 competitions, he has been so consistent. And my only fear is because he's had such a brutal programme, he's done the qualification, the team final, the all-around, where Luke and some of the others haven't done the same programme. I'd be really keen to watch Luke Whitehouse. He's double European champion. So he will, even though he qualified in 5th, he's got this hugely impressive triple back somersault, the only one in the competition on this piece of apparatus. So he's a real fighting chance. But it could be Jake's time for sure.
Craig, thank you. Craig Heat with us, part of the TV commentary team. Later on, you'll be able to watch the gymnastics on BBC television. Chris Hoy has joined us. We're going to talk to him in the next 45 minutes. Also done an interview with Andy Murray, and we will play that for you as well. We'll keep you up to date with what is going on with the dressage, with the golf, or the other sport that's going on. And on a day where so far Britain have taken 2 medals already, the women's 8 in the rowing took the bronze, the men's 8 took the gold. It is 28 minutes to 1 o'clock, and it's time for the latest BBC News with Bethan Holmes.